to the opening drive. Carrie Davis is here. Brooke Grimsley is here.
Okay,
Matthew Rocchio is here. Randy Carricker is not. He's out today, and it is just the three of us for this Friday. Happy Friday for everyone in the studio and everyone that is listening. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good. A good Friday. I have like three drinks in front of me.
You do have three. This is intriguing. Why do you have 3 cups?
Even a cookie, because I need a lot of just fluid. Okay. I don't know. I'm trying something different because in the mornings, I'm getting used to the mornings, right? I've been trying to figure out a breakfast routine because I don't like waking up and dealing with making eggs in the morning. Okay. Sometimes you'll see me come with a protein bar, but that's a little, I was about to say a little sweet, and then I have a smoothie right in front of me.
That's what I want to know. You got 3 cups.
Smoothie.
Okay.
Coffee with lion's mane mushrooms. Oh, okay. In there. And then water. I
don't know what that is. All right. And water.
Yes.
You got three beverages. How did you carry that in?
The smoothie day. I literally all in one arm. It was my serving and bartending experience came in handy this morning. Okay. Carrying in all these drinks. So we'll see how the smoothie holds me throughout the day.
You see my drink. I just carry one. Just one big. I usually put water. It's empty right now.
I was gonna say, did you already get through that this morning? I haven't
filled it up yet. I didn't have enough time. Got to fill it up later, and so hopefully we'll get that done.
I know Curbs was freaking out when he saw that when he came in the other day. He was like, "You drink that all throughout the day?" Yeah. And now people can see on YouTube. It's one of those where it takes a while.
It has great things keep you going. Encouragement,
Keep chugging, feeling awesome. You've gone to the bathroom 20 times today.
At least.
Is that in there?
It should be. Trip number 5. So the Cardinals are home today, starting their 3-game series versus the Washington Nationals. The All-Star break has ended. They are back into the flow of things. We will see how well they are able to push forward in this second half because it's going to be an important one. A lot of things taking place, trades potentially happening, some movement going on for the Cardinals if they don't show anything here in the next couple of weeks. What are your thoughts on that, Brooke? What do you think that the Cardinals need to do in order to make a push for the playoffs here in the second half?
God, that's like the $1 million question, right? It
is actually. It's our question of the day, isn't it? It's the theme of today.
Sorry, what?
For a push for the playoffs? I think playoffs might be a little steep, but you always have to build. You have to build for right now. You have to build for 2024. I'm interested to see if they're going to make a bolder move during the trade deadline. When I'm saying bold, this is where you're going to trade a couple of guys. This is kind of your puke point guys that it's going to be very painful to see leaving this organization. Maybe a Tommy Edman, maybe a Brendan Donovan. I think Brendan Donovan's a little bit out of that discussion now because as I was saying yesterday, I don't think you can remove him with how useful he's been in so many different situations that it's made it a little bit easier possibly parting with other players. People have also brought up Lars Nootbaar, but what is interesting is Derek Gould of the Post-Dispatch actually just put out an article last night, and he was on the foul territory, and he brought up that Lars Nootbaar is an untouchable. Now, Carrie, Rocchio, as a nutty neuter of Newt Nation, the president and CEO of the fan club of Lars Nootbaar, that's great news.
Don't short yourself. I mean, treasurer, vice president, leader of marketing. I mean, you got everything.
Yeah,
that's a lot of jobs for one person.
Everything. I think I was a little surprised to see Derek Gould say that Lars Nootbaar was a name that they wouldn't be moving, because when I heard Mosaic say with Martin Kilcoyne the other day on Fox 2, we're going to just kind of keep our core players is what it looks like, and then supplement outside of that. I didn't consider Lars Nootbaar, even though I'm a big fan, I didn't consider him part of that core group of players, but they obviously see him as a big part of what they're looking to build on in 2024. I'm interested to see. I'm sure a lot of people on the text line, because every time we talk about Lars, we see overrated. We see overrated. Lars Nootbaar, why are you going to keep him? Why not try to, strike when the iron's hot? Because a lot of teams were interested in him last season. Yep. I don't know. Maybe you don't move him because you see him as a useful part of 2024.
He is an intriguing piece because we know the potential, the star power that we saw during the World Baseball Classic. People are interested in him, and he has potential. Rocc was talking about his numbers and how his analytic numbers actually are showing him to be very, very good. Just not the real numbers. Is that what you said?
Well, he's got a high walk rate. Is that an analytic or a real number?
It's an analytic.
Okay, he does both.
Is it a real
He's got
number?
He's got one of the best chase rates in Major League Baseball. Is that a real? Is that an analytic or a real number?
That's a made-up number.
How's that a made-up number?
It's just made up.
It looks at how often he goes after pitches that are outside the strike zone.
Yeah, okay.
That's a very useful metric to have on a player, isn't it?
Is he? What about his launch angle, Rocc? Don't talk to me about this What about his launch angle?
Don't you straw man me.
Is he launch angle? Is his launch angle great or not?
He also plays
clearly that's all that matters.
He also plays good defense in a corner outfield position, which,
that matters.
as you've watched this year, that's been a little bit of a bugaboo for the Cardinals.
Has that been an issue this season?
24th ranked team in defensive runs saved, so not exactly great for the St. Louis Cardinals this year.
Right.
Yeah, pretty bad overall.
Those
so I mean,
numbers.
if we love guys who don't strike out, and we love guys who walk, and we love guys who hit for power and hit for contact, and we love solid defense, seems like all good things baseball wise.
Okay.
I'm not going to put any numbers on it because apparently I don't want to scare you away from having an opinion here.
Clearly.
But nonetheless, it seems like a pretty good thing.
Sounds kind of Moneyball-ish to me, but okay, we'll go with that.
He also did say Jordan Walker as another untouchable, which I would hope so. You know what's been surprising is that ever since that article came out, John Heyman did with talking about Nolan Arenado, the possibility of him being traded. I think the rest of us, we played some of that audio with Nolan Arenado. That wasn't my takeaway in that interview with him, is that he thought that he was necessarily going to be moved. It was him just talking about this is the business. He opted in for a reason. He made sure to say that there's a reason he wanted to stick around the Cardinals and that there was a few pieces missing. But some people have just ran away with that. Right. And people are like, wait, maybe Nolan Arenado is going to go to the Yankees. He's not going anywhere. But I've also seen people bring up Jordan Walker and potential trades. There's no way. I don't. To me, that would be a complete teardown. Is if you are moving Jordan Walker.
No, he's one of those core pieces that you talked about, and I think in that core group you have Nolan Arenado, you have Paul Goldschmidt, Jordan Walker. I don't know if Nolan Gorman is in that core piece of players right now.
Yeah.
I would love for him to be, but there's some there. I'm sure he's one of the guys that you could get a lot in return for because he does have power and probably superstar potential somewhere in there. We saw it in the first couple of months of the season. Yeah. He cooled off in June and so far in July hasn't picked back up, but there is a superstar potential there, and that would lead a lot of teams to probably want to go after a Nolan Gorman. So I don't know if he's in that core group of guys, but Tommy Edman, I think, is also in that core group of guys because of his versatility and what he can do.
Yeah.
Obviously,
but
we
you
just
got to
talked
start
about
getting
Lars.
rid of somebody. That's the thing. If you are going to move,
if you want something in return, yes.
If you are going to move guys around at the trade deadline, so say you even move Jordan Montgomery, Jack Flaherty, you know what's interesting about that, which of course you would try to maximize as much as possible, especially if you don't know if you're going to be able to re-sign them during the offseason. But it's interesting because what has been the biggest issue this season for the Cardinals? Pitching, especially starting pitching. Yeah. So then you're going to have those deficiencies. And so, exactly. So you better be getting a lot in return, but you also might have to sweeten the pot. If you're moving those two at the trade deadline, you need to maximize what you get in return. You're going to have to part with some position players, maybe an everyday player too.
Yeah. Well, you will, and we will. We'll dig into that later. We'll talk about what you think. We want your text in the text line 314-399-9646. That's 314-399.
Yo-ho!
Tell us if you.
So
good job,
excited
Rocc.
Today.
Somewhat. This is him.
No, Caray talked about the playoffs in the first 2 minutes of the show. I'm out on the show. I'm done.
I talked about the potential playoff push. I told you my theory on the playoff push. How many games did they have to win, Rocc?
18 of their first 20.
There you go.
There's
so if they don't win 18 of 20, I'm out.
First words of today's show should have been, all right, who y'all selling first? That should have been the first words of today's show.
We'll talk about that later. We want to get your text in. We want to get your opinion, get your mic drops. Do you think the Cardinals are going to be better suited in the trade deadline or in free agency? Which one do you think they have better options in for this season and going forward into the 2024 season? We'll talk about that. At 7:30, we have forward for the St. Louis Blues, Sammy Blais joining us. 8:15, former Tennessee Titan.
Yeah.
Blaine Bishop, your guy, Brooke.
I'm so excited. Blaine is great. Blaine is awesome.
8:45, we have former MLB catcher Erik Kratz, who will be talking about his book and the life of a journeyman as a catcher. It's going to be intriguing to talk to him. 9:15, we have Chip Caray, Cardinals broadcaster, joining us. I'm sure he'll be on his hot girl walk as he is every Friday.
Every Friday.
Well, do they do the hot girl walks at home?
I would hope that they would, because that would be special if you just looked out the window and you saw Chip Caray, Alexa,
nice.
Dad,
would it
and
be
all
the
them.
same route every time? That's route.
Maybe.
Route or
well,
route?
it's kind of like, remember
it's
Adam?
hard for them to do the hot girl walk because it's always like around like the downtown infrastructure of the city they're in, and everyone's off in their respective
This
homes.
is true.
But they should get together, because I think the hot girl walk is a way of life. I mean, it's like, remember how Adam Wainwright, I don't know if he
Brad
still
Thompson
does
certainly
it,
is
the old man. What is it? The old man walk that he would do?
Oh, yeah.
Inside
Adam
the
Wainwright?
Adam Wainwright.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he still does that. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. It's a way
good
of life.
It's good for your body. Get out and walk.
Hot girl walk.
Smell the air, the environment, depending on what city you're in. And I mean, some cities you don't want to smell that. Looking at you, New York.
Yes, I think Chip's probably going to be finishing off the chore list that he had to do over the All-Star break before tonight's game.
There you go. He probably is just getting back in town after doing that. Your time check is 7:10. Time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up next, we have our topic of the day. Are the Cardinals better suited in free agency or at the trade deadline? We'll get into it next on the Opening Drive.
On ESPN. see how the Reds perform going forward, but to assume that they're this juggernaut and they're going to hold the NL Central by the throat for the next 5 years, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. So I think John Mozeliak is going to make moves. He's going to acquire young talent, trade while the stock is pretty high on some of these guys, but he's going to keep the core together. He's going to spend money in free agency for starting pitching. He's going to reimagine the bullpen, and he's going to go try and get him next year. I don't think this is a teardown. Don't think that it's going to be a teardown in St. Louis, because it's not.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Carrie Davis and Matthew Rocchio. No Randy Carricker today. He's having, is it a dentist appointment today? Doctor appointment. Oh, I shouldn't have outed him like that. That's always a little bit personal, right? But he's not on the golf course. Maybe he will be later.
He probably will.
He will be later.
Yeah, that's a fair guess.
But our big topic of today is, do you feel more confident in the Cardinals' ability to change this team at the trade deadline or over the offseason? Be sure to text in at the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. That is 314-399-YO-HO. Be sure to text in with what you think. Do you feel more confident in the Cardinals and their abilities to make a big move at the trade deadline or this offseason with free agency? Personally, I'm going to go with trade deadline.
Okay.
I believe the trade deadline because of what they've been able to accomplish with the recent trades over the years. Mm-hmm. It seems like they have the ability to maximize what they get sometimes in return. And right now, you're building for 2024. Isn't that what John Mozeliak said the other day when he was talking to Martin Kilcoyne? They're looking ahead to 2024, finding those extra pieces. I do think that there's some pieces away. My biggest thing is if you're going to move Jordan Montgomery, Jack Flaherty, pitching has been an issue. You have to find a way to get a big return out of them, and you might need to sweeten the pot, moving a position player, an everyday starter, in order to get something else. Now, something that does concern me a little bit is that the White Sox don't seem like they really want to move Dylan Cease. Mm-hmm. There's reports that they're saying the other day that they are not going to part with Dylan Cease. But look, everybody has a price, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a price, especially if you give them an offer they can't refuse.
You sound like the Godfather.
That's where I was going with that. That's where I was going with that. I can't do it. I was gonna try to. I can do my Southern Belle accent. The Godfather accent is
not so much.
Not in my arsenal. Not in my pitching arsenal as we're talking about starting pitching. Right? Can you do it, Rocchio? I feel you're Italian, right? You're Italian.
I got a little bit.
Say it.
You gotta have the chin thing too.
Okay, give me say it. Offer you can't refuse.
Oh God.
Come on.
I gave him an offer he couldn't refuse.
You did it. I like the raspiness. I like it. That's what I'm saying, and where I'm going with this is that I think, though, despite Dylan Cease, there are some other options out there. But you also see, I don't think the door could be completely closed with the White Sox. See what you can move around for certain pieces. I'm with Greg that it's not going to be a complete teardown. Mm-hmm. Teardown to me would be moving Nolan Arenado, which that's not going to happen. Moving Paul Goldschmidt, which no way that's going to happen. Moving Jordan Walker, which that's not going to happen. To me, that would be signaling a teardown. I don't think the Cardinals see that. They see this as supplementing, adding some to this core group that they believe in for 2024.
So for me, you want to go the trade route. I am looking at this, and there are a few free agent pitchers for 2024 that I think could definitely help this roster. And for me, it's about spending money, but spending it wisely. And I think the Cardinals at times, we talked about it all last season, how much more money they would spend in free agency, and the number went up. I don't think it went up to the tune of what Cardinal fans were thinking. I think they were thinking a lot more when you say we'll spend more money this season. So if you want to be competitive, if you want to be a good team, the trade market, obviously, when you make a trade, you got to give something to get something. So what are you going to give? Are you going to be giving up a Nolan Gorman? Are you going to be giving up some prospect in the minors? Who are you going to be giving up? Who are you willing to part with? And you talked about it earlier, the puke point, the point where it makes you a little bit sick to see that person leave. For me, that's Nolan Gorman. That's the person that would make me a little bit physically ill to watch him leave this roster, even if it were for a Dylan Cease, because I know the superstar potential that Nolan Gorman has. and what I think he could be in the future. So I'm
doesn't it concern you a little bit when he goes through these slumps, which we've seen, which he is young, but I'm saying we have now seen 2 seasons of where he goes through not even like a mini slump, but a dramatic drop off in performance.
This is what you are. This is the expectation when you have power hitters. They're going to hit a lot of home runs, and they're going to swing and miss on a lot of home runs, and they're going to strike out a lot. So that comes with the territory. I think baseball has transitioned into that, and a lot of people are understanding that's the aspect of it, and that's what they're going to get from them. For me, when we're talking about free agent pitchers, I'm looking at Aaron Nola from the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm looking at Sonny Gray, who was a 2.89 ERA, and he's 4-3. I'm looking at Blake Snell, 2.85 with San Diego. Those are guys I want, and they're playing for teams that aren't performing particularly well. If you're under a 3 ERA and your record is 4-3 and 6-7, which is Sonny Gray and Blake Snell respectively, you know they're probably not getting the run support that is needed to win those games. Which, when you're looking at those 2 teams and their records right now, people expected them to be much better. Minnesota, no. San Diego spent a lot of money, no. It's not happening. So those are a couple of pitchers that I could go out and spend money on. And then Lucas Giolito in free agency. And Lucas Giolito, another White Sox member who will be a free agent as well. You got some guys you can go get. It's just about spending the money correctly. And then sometimes with free agents, you spend money and they don't come in and perform at the level that they have in other places. So there's a little, I don't want to say luck to it as well, but I guess there is some luck to it as well.
This is where my concern comes in a little bit when you're talking about the luck. The Cardinals maybe not have had that much luck.
How's it been for the Cardinals looking for agency lately?
We won't pretend like it has been great.
Oh, let me run it down for you. Wilson Contreras, which I'm not saying this is a bust because obviously we're still in the first half.
Yes,
we just saw first half.
We won't
do that.
Won't do that
and he's not going anywhere because guess what? 5 years, $87.5 million. Steven Matz, 4 years, $44 million. Mm-hmm. Corey Dickerson, which, I mean, I'm just giving you a rundown of some free agents. Maybe I'll go to bigger contracts. How about we skip ahead to Brett Cecil? Everybody remembers that one. 4 years,
why do you need to remind us?
$30.5 million. Dexter Fowler, 5 years, $82.5 million. Mike Lee, 5 years, $80 million. So that's where, yes, I understand you're not going to win every single time that you go out and spend money in free agency. What concerns me is that track record, that pattern of where it hasn't worked out so much, and then you're stuck with those big giant contracts that you look back and you're like, why? Why did we spend that money on that?
Let's go to the Air Comfort Service text line really quickly. 618, he says, I should say, they say, I look for the Cardinals to trade Flaherty, Montgomery, DeYoung, O'Neill, Gorman, and Hicks. Here's my question. If that's your opinion, that's how much they trade, the trade deadline is going to be the more impactful of the 2 situations because I just can't see the Cardinals making enough.
Because you read those names back, though.
Because of how much of a shift this is. Flaherty, Montgomery, DeYoung, O'Neill, Gorman, Hicks.
What are you getting? So Hicks, you'll probably get something. I mean, but are we getting in return
I think
prospects?
Hicks that you would. Well,
I think Hicks you're going to get something in. But what are you getting in return? Because you need pitching. If you're trading pitchers, is that team going to give you a pitcher or pitchers back?
It depends who you're trading
are
to.
Not on the major league roster.
Well,
we're not talking about prospects. I'm talking about guys that are ready to roll right now. A prospect has potential, and I've told you all, potential is the most dangerous word in sports.
What about
because it's sight unseen. We have not seen the potential come to fruition yet, so it doesn't matter.
What about a prospect who's supposed to come up next year?
We got a few of those, don't we? We got some right now, huh?
I'm just saying
you are going to have to possibly
one that's been here that's got sent back down from the starting pitching laboratory.
I was going to say there's been a couple.
Pick one.
Derek Gould threw out a Yankees prospect who's in AAA right now. You can take a look at the Orioles prospect list. They have pitchers all over the place, and their starting pitching is horrendous. I think they'd be a pretty good trading candidate. My point is, though, if you make that many moves, I can't see the Cardinals making enough moves in free agency for it to be more impactful than the trade deadline. If this is how many people you move, I mean, that is at one point or another, every single one of those players has been a starter or a key role player for your team for a large chunk of this season.
Okay, so the names you have on there, DeYoung, you're not going to get a starting pitcher back for Paul DeYoung.
No.
Tyler O'Neill, you're not going to get a starting pitcher back for Tyler O'Neill.
You could package a couple of these guys together.
That's what I'm saying. You're probably going to have to sweeten
Paul DeYoung and Tyler O'Neill, a guy, he's got a bad back, Rocc.
You use the position players to get you pitchers, and then you use the current pitchers to get you prospects, and maybe even like a lower level pitcher.
You use the current pitchers to get you prospects.
Flaherty and Montgomery. That's the trades to the Yankees, into the Baltimore Orioles, a team like that. The Texas Rangers probably going to be your Hicks prospect. That's the team that Derrick Gould directly set on foul territory yesterday. Is where Jordan Hicks could very well go. There's another place where you're getting prospects for pitching.
Again, prospects. We need guys. So when you trade Jordan Montgomery and Jack Flaherty, that's 2 of your 5 starters. Where are you going to get those other 2 guys from?
You're going to get.
Where are the Cardinals, the St. Louis 2023 Cardinals, going to get those 2 guys from?
They're going to have to pay some people.
Exactly.
No. For the rest, Rocc, they got to finish the season out. Where are they going to get those 2 guys
I think
from?
the rest of the season is a
the rest of the
bust.
season, Carey.
I
It's
understand
2024.
I am with you 100%. Who is going? Who? Just anybody?
But here's the thing:
Dakota Hudson gets a last run.
Yes, you get Dakota Hudson, Steven Matz. They're going to promote probably after the trade deadline. I would suspect Michael McGreevy. You might even bring up Gordon Graceffo and have him in some sort of a bullpen role. I don't know. I mean, there is options. The fact of the matter is that I'll believe in John Mozeliak in this, is that they're going to start building towards 2024. And here's the reality of the situation they're in right now. I think we're all right. I think you're going to have to do both things. You're going to have to go and move guys at the trade deadline because, of course, we don't know if Jordan Montgomery, if he's going to resign. We know he's going to go into free agency because he's the Scott Boras client. I wonder how people feel if the Cardinals are kind of kicking themselves that they didn't sign him at the beginning of the season. Remember when he said that he was open to talks with the Cardinals? I don't know. And maybe they just thought because he's a Scott Boras client, they were just going to approach him in free agency. Anyways, I have no idea, but I remember he was open to it. Maybe that's something you look back and you're like, man, we should have signed him a little bit earlier. And then also, too, you're going to move from Paul DeJong. I think we all know you're going to maximize with that. Tyler O'Neill is as good as gone. He's done with this organization. There's no way that that's going to happen. You're going to have to do multiple things because of what has happened this season to be able to get in any good standing going to 2024. I do think that there's a good group of guys. I'm going to believe in Nolan Arenado. I'm going to believe in Paul Goldschmidt. Jordan Walker has high upside. He's only going to get better from here. Building around that and actually giving them some good pitching help going into next season is going to take trade deadline and it's going to take free agency.
Yeah, I'm understanding that. I just want to know who. Prospects are a dangerous word to me. Potential is a dangerous word to me because if something you have not seen, give me a guy that I know is a professional baseball player that has done it and has a career of doing it so far this year or throughout his career.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yes.
Well, we're going to keep talking about that today. But coming up next, we're going to go to the celebrity line. It's going to be Stanley Cup champ Sammy Blais. We're going to talk to him about, of course, the return of Oscar Sundqvist and also how his summer's been going. That's ahead on the opening drive.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. All-Star break is over, and the Cardinals are back in action, starting their second half against the Washington Nationals. 3-game series at Busch Stadium tonight. It's a 7:15 first pitch. The Nationals have not announced who their starter is. Cardinals will send Miles Michaelis to the mound to start the second half. Michaelis, throughout the first half, 5-5 with a 4.23 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Kerry Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley and Matthew Rocchio. And Brooke, before we broke, we were discussing just many topics in terms of how the Cardinals were going to go forward and what would be the best course of action for them. Is it the trade deadline? Is it through free agency? As I said earlier, I highly believe that it could be through free agency. We had a texter earlier say, well, if they go get all of these prospects from the trade deadline, they could potentially use those in the offseason to go get a starting pitcher.
And you can. And that's realistic.
The question is who? Because that's going to be the question going forward.
It could be.
He's a free agent, though. He will be a free agent. So he's someone that you could go out and spend money on. The problem that I feel the Cardinals have is this issue. If Aaron Nola is a guy that is being offered $24 million a year, you may have to go at $26 million. You may have to spend $27 million a year to go get the guy that you want. Are the Cardinals willing to go above asking price for a player that they truly need on their roster, a number one of number ones, and are they willing to go do that? Yes or no is the question. And if not, then I think that's when you talk about the Cardinals, everyone catching up with the Cardinals in the division. The mindset has to shift when things aren't working in the manner in which they have in the past. The mind shift has to begin to shift, and you have to start looking at things in a different way. And spending more money is one way that the Cardinals could have more success going forward.
And look, I would love to know, because of course, you have to hold the front office accountable because of what we have pointed out over the past few weeks, and even since the beginning of the season, that it was probably, in John Mozeliak's own words, a strategic mistake on not pursuing, more starting pitching. Or I won't even say more starting pitching, more aggressive, being more aggressive when it comes to the starting pitching market this past offseason, because just getting Wilson Contreras, and that was the only big move that you made, I think that was surprising for some people, especially when you're going into the season. And look, you can't predict every little thing that's going to happen. And hindsight's always 20/20. But at the same time, some of these pitchers, you knew going in, have been battling back from injuries. It's been a while since we've seen a fully healthy season from Jack Flaherty. Luckily, he has been able to maintain his health, and he's been good. I don't know if would you say great this season? Would you put him in the great category?
I would say he's been really good.
Okay.
I think he's done really well.
I guess if I'm saying I wish I could see it more on a consistent basis, but for whatever reason, Jordan Montgomery is the only one that we have seen on a consistent basis. Yeah. But then at the beginning of the season, he wasn't getting any run support. So then that looked weird in itself. It's going to be really interesting because I would love to know, because this is another factor in this, how much money are they allowed to spend? Because, look, we don't know what the budget was for this past offseason.
Right.
There could have been, a number that the DeWitts gave John Mozeliak and his group to work with. We're not sure about that. Is that going to change going into this offseason? That's my big question. If you're going to change your approach to things, if you're going to go out and get that controllable starting pitcher, you're going to go and spend that big money, how much money are you allowed to spend? Because we can't keep getting these kind of middling starting pitchers, right?
I think that's where the issues lie. You have to figure out what you are able to spend. What are the DeWitts willing to spend for this, to help this ball club? Because we've seen it. We've seen a team that has struggled mightily, not having that pitching rotation that can go in and day out and just really get the ball rolling in the right direction for this team each game. That, to me, has been one of the main causes of why they've struggled. We talked about the relief pitching. I feel like that's a cause and effect. When you don't have great starting pitching,
21 blown saves.
You guys are going to be worn down. They're going to be tired. We talked about it before the season started. By June, if you don't get effective starting pitching, your guys are going to be tired. So it's only going to carry on for the rest of the season if it doesn't take place in the manner in which you need it to. I'm looking at this starting rotation right now, and I don't know if Jack Flaherty is 26, going to be 27 coming up here.
I think he is 26.
So right now he is 27.
27.
I don't know if that's not a person that, if healthy, again, and I think you said it, Brooke, I don't know if he's been great this year, but I think he's been very good, and I think he has shown himself to be healthier than he has been in the past. Knock on wood, because we know anything can happen at any time, but maybe that's a guy that you do try to re-sign, and he might not be your number one, but maybe he's your number two, maybe he's your number three, and now you have less stress of going to get two starting pitchers in the offseason as opposed to just going to get one. And you have whoever you go get in free agency, Miles Michaelis / Jack Flaherty in the 2-3 role, and then you got to figure out the 4 and 5 because Waino won't be here, and we don't know if Steven Matz is going to be able to. He had a really good start last time. Will he be able to continue that? Those are the questions, but you have to go get a number one starter in free agency, and I don't think that number one starter is right now currently on this roster.
I personally believe that, of course, you're going to try to offer. It would be silly if they didn't, right? If you didn't extend a qualifying offer to Jack Flaherty and Jordan Montgomery and try that, right? Like, you have to. But at the same time, I believe that those two are as good as gone, especially at the trade deadline. I think that they're going to move them. They're going to try to maximize what they can get in return. Jack Flaherty especially, you're going to try to strike when the iron's hot with him because of his latest performances. Those were great performances where you can go and present that to teams and say, look, 27 years old, he's been healthy this season. You're going to be able to get possibly some good stuff in return from that. And Jordan Montgomery, as long as he's healthy and everything's fine with his hamstring when he returns, you should be able to get a lot from that too.
Yeah, it should work, but the idea of giving the guys the qualifying offer, it's just that you're in a completely different situation when you're thinking we keep them, we try to see what happens, we give them the QO, and if they walk, we get a draft pick. But even worse than a draft, even worse than like a AA pitcher who's not, who hasn't started in the majors yet, Carey Davis. Even worse than that is a draft pick. A year later, who's going to be 4 or 5 years down the road. So, I mean, you trade those guys immediately, even if it's not for starters, you trade those guys. And if it's for a guy like Deal, if again, I don't care if it's a guy whose ETA is a year away. That's a much better pick than going out into the season, giving them a QO, them walking and getting a draft pick. I'm still making a move for a pitcher who's actually going to be starting for this team quicker. So you shift those guys out. There's no doubt about it. Montgomery and Flaherty should not be here when the month turns to August.
Montgomery won't be here.
Yeah, Montgomery won't be here. Well, look at the situation that the Angels are in right now with Shohei Ohtani. Talk about a tough situation, which I don't feel bad for the Angels, of course not. But talk about a tough situation that they're in where you have Mike Trout injured. You see what's going on with the Angels. They have 2 stars and a unicorn. Well, I'll consider him a unicorn, and Shohei Ohtani. And what are they looking at doing? They're looking at like, well, do we move him because there's a chance that he's not going to return and we're not going to be able to re-sign him, and we try to maximize most. I think that's a tough position to be in. I personally think that if you know somebody's going to walk away or that possibility is there, you need to move them at the trade deadline and get as much as possible, because you know what's worse is watching that person walk away and you get nothing. Yeah. Then that looks even worse.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but I don't think the Cardinals and the Angels are in a different spot. The Angels are still fighting for.
And I'm not saying. I'm saying like that's a situation that you find yourselves in. Is would you let somebody just walk, knowing that, because Shohei's been very opinionated about how he's frustrated and how he wants to go play for a winning team, somebody who's actually going to compete for championships, and so that. Do you let him walk? Or do you try to keep him around knowing that maybe he won't be able to pay that price or that he'll even want to stay?
Indeed. That's Brooke. I'm Carey. Coming up next, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. That's 314-399-YO-HO. Take it or leave it is next.
take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Good morning and welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Brimsley here alongside Carrie Davis and Matthew Rocchio, who's a little bit upset right now. Are you okay over there?
No, he's not.
No. Oh, okay. Everything's fine.
He's all right. He'll be okay.
Nothing. If you can see us on YouTube, by the way, you can go and watch us on YouTube and see all of our reactions. You can see Rocchio and how happy he is right now. There's definitely nothing happening. Right?
Nah, we're chilling.
Nothing going on. It is time for TIOLI, Take It or Leave It. Be sure to send yours into the Air Comfort Service text line. There we go. 314-399-9646. That is 314-399.
Yo-ho!
Okay. I have one for you guys. My TIOLI comes because of something that we briefly talked about before the show started. Take it or leave it. If you could go back in time, you would just stick with landlines. We wouldn't have cell phones anymore. We would go back to a good old newspaper. Just morning news.
Leave it.
Newspapers on the porch.
Leave it.
No all-day social media. You don't need to know what's going on until the next day. You're not going to miss anything. Yeah, sign me up.
Thank you.
God,
you see,
no.
I'm
sitting down at the coffee table, drinking a cup of coffee,
and
reading the newspaper. No television.
Tim McKernan.
Well, that's a little further back than what I was intending.
No television on. You can have a TV in the house.
I was like, how far back are we going?
We can have a TV in the house. We don't go back too far.
Brooke gets the next hill to die on when we have to do 11 o'clock.
Okay. Brooke
gets the next hill, and it's this. We're doing this for a full 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll let you get to your point about it in a second, but I just want to say the reason I say this is, one, I hate how just involved we're expected to be in our cell phones now, that you need to text people back constantly. Doesn't matter time of day, all that stuff. I understand emergencies that you have to. I'm fine with calling people. I would rather call someone than text and email someone, because then you get it out of the way and you move on. You don't do this whole back and forth. Also, just getting away from social media. And that's the biggest thing, because, you would wake up, you were talking about the newspaper. You would wake up, you look at your newspaper, you digest that news for the day, and you're just done with it. You didn't have to see it freaking thrown in your face.
All day long, and
all these opinions attached to it. You were just allowed to go about your day. You'd go to work. Then you'd come home. I say this like I went through this, but I just watched my parents go through this. And I just remember being a kid, like coming home on the landline, you could listen to some messages, call somebody back, and then you were done. You weren't expected to just be looking directly at your phone. Rocchio, what is your point? Why do you want to be just controlled by your cell phone?
The 618 said these are internet problems. It's the internet. It's not the cell phone. It's the internet.
It's the internet.
Yeah, because if you don't have the internet, you don't have all of the technology associated with it. So it's an internet problem. We're focusing our anger at the wrong place. It's not the cell phone companies. It's not, social media.
I wouldn't be mad at the cell phone companies because it's expensive.
Yeah, who you telling?
636 says my family dislikes talking to me because I only call.
There are people who get upset about that. Are you serious? You're one of those people?
Don't call me.
Are you serious?
Do not call me. If we can set up this over text, do not call me.
Do you know how much longer a text takes as opposed to a phone call?
It's so much shorter.
A phone call is so much quicker.
Yes.
You can get that out in 45 seconds. What you were going to text that would take 5-10 minutes, back and forth. No. I had a friend, actually my closest friend, he used to do this. I would text him, and then he would respond to my text with a phone call. And there is nothing more in my life that makes me want to throw my phone against a wall. You're that guy.
I'm 100% that guy. Absolutely. God. I love my phone. I love my phone. It's a great thing. E-books, Twitter. Come on, get out of here. I love my phone.
Oh, come on. I feel like but the thing is, it isolates you instead of actually bringing people together. That's what I feel like. Yeah. I feel like social media has caused people to not actually communicate better.
Not be humans. They're not people.
No.
Oh, come on.
You're not real.
Look at a picture of people standing on the side.
That man's not real.
Look at a picture of people standing on the side of the road waiting for a bus in 1920. They're all reading the paper. No one's talking to each other, all right?
No, they would communicate
Does it matter
with one
if
another.
it's a phone or a
communicate
paper?
eventually.
You didn't watch Forrest Gump. He sat on that park bench and talked to everyone, Rocc. Everyone. He didn't have a cell phone in his face looking at it all day.
He had something interesting to say.
And so will the person that you're sitting next to. Now, the only person that I don't want talking to me is the person on the plane when I first get on there. Don't talk to me. Don't speak to me. I don't want to have conversations.
So now
you don't want to chat it up.
Now
I'm going to sleep. When I get on a plane, that's not a time to. Do I get to take it or leave it or no?
Hit me.
Okay, just
were you about
you was going to bypass me.
Usually that happens to me. What a nice change of pace, huh?
All right, so Quentin Williams signed a 4-year deal for $96 million, making him the highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. Not the highest yearly paid defensive tackle, but the highest value of a contract. He was best known for his signing day when he got drafted, sneezing and saying "bless you" to himself. Take it or leave it. You should say "bless you" to yourself when you sneeze. You don't need anyone else saying it. He bless me. Yeah.
I think that example is just excuse me.
He said bless me.
Bless me. Okay, bless me. Well, I mean, if
no one else is going to bless you, shouldn't you bless yourself? Yeah. Okay. There you go.
All right.
You can go now. Thank you for not skipping over me. All right. Greatly appreciate that. I know how you feel.
Somebody said, "Someone give me Rockio's phone number. I'm going to call him all day."
Oh yeah.
I will.
He will block
that number the first time you call me. What are you talking about? Take it or leave it. The Cardinals will go 5-2 during this current homestand.
Well, if they go 5-2, what does that mean for me, Rocc?
They gotta go 13-0 for Caray to be buying into this club.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it. I think I don't know, man. It's possible that we're going to get more of the same with this Cardinals team.
Anything's possible,
in the second half.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
3 and
Friday.
4.
I'm trying to be positive, but I don't know.
Take it or leave it. The Cardinals are able to acquire 2 or more top 100 prospects this deadline.
Ooh,
2 or more?
I'm going to leave that. Taking that. They have 2 pitchers to trade. Each of them gets them at least 1 top 100 prospect.
Leave it.
I'm going to take it.
You think you're going to get a top 100 prospect for Jack Flaherty?
Yes.
I'll leave it. Nothing against Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, it might be
Jordan
it might be
Montgomery.
95, but it's still top 100.
Nah, I don't know. I can't see being more than 2.
I don't think the value of those guys. They haven't. I understand that they're free agents. They haven't performed. Do you? Okay, let's ask this.
Jordan Montgomery would. I think that he actually will get a lot of looks.
Whatever team they go to. What are they? They're not an ace. They're not a second. They're the 3rd or 4th starter for that team.
My point is that if you trade him to a team like the Orioles, who need pitching so bad, they have 9 top 100 prospects. You're not trading Jordan Montgomery for their number 10 and 11 prospects. You're getting one of their top 9 prospects, which is a top 100 prospect.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
In this example, and for most other teams, the pitcher that the Gould threw out for the Yankees, that's a top 100 prospect, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. We shall see.
Now who's being negative? Take it or leave it. The real reason the Cardinals have
all day.
The real reason that Nootbaar's untouchable is because that's how you get Shohei Ohtani.
Take it.
Oh my God. No, there's no way. There's no way. Guys, okay, I'm just saying, if Shohei Ohtani first, I don't know, somehow came to St. Louis and you would have to give up a lot to be able to get him here. A lot. I think I would get a Shohei Ohtani tattoo. We like to talk about tattoos. I would get a Shohei Ohtani tattoo if he came here to St. Louis.
Really?
I would do it.
Okay.
Maybe it's a unicorn. Maybe I just get like him as a unicorn. I would 100% do that.
So the idea of freaking out athletes that you're a big fan of with too much fandom just out the window completely? You're just gonna,
I would never show it to him.
Throw a chair out the window and dive right after it?
How creepy would that be if I just go to him and be like, hey, I got it. There's been people who've probably shown him weirder things. How much you want to bet? Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. Shohei Ohtani has been shown so many weird things.
As a professional athlete and a superstar, I will take that.
Hot take.
Yeah, there are certain things.
Such a weird take it or leave it.
They have you sign. They have you sign babies.
Yes, I've seen everything.
Cleavage.
Oh,
yeah.
Caray.
Like a rock star.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is.
Take it or leave it. Gorman is more likely to be traded than Edman.
Gorman's more likely to be traded than Edman.
I'll take that. Edman is your starting center fielder, and Nolan Gorman has cooled off.
If you're looking for value, then maybe. Yeah. I think that Gorman definitely has more of an upside. Younger.
Years of control is the big thing. Edmund's up.
He has 2 years, right?
Got, Gorman?
No, Edmund has 2 years.
Edmund's got 2, Gorman's got 3.
Yeah.
So extra year of control.
If we're talking about getting the most return, then
is Mason Wynn one of the untouchables as well?
Actually, we had somebody in the
I can see that.
That's why I read.
We had Brian 3451 in the YouTube chat saying, "What about dangling Mason Wynn?"
I think he's part of that future core group, the core group that we talked about earlier. I think he's in that group as well.
Especially if you get away from Paul DeYoung.
Yeah.
Which I know that you have Donovan, you have Edmund, you have guys who can play multiple positions, but
I wish Randy was here because he would have been much more dismissive of that comment. Randy's not. We're not trading Mason Wynn.
No,
That's not happening.
Somebody said the Shohei state. I like that.
Oh.
We'll just change,
Change it?
Yeah, we'll change
Okay. We'll do that.
To bring him here.
Yeah. I don't know how that's going to go over for everybody.
Take it or leave it. A team is going to trade a haul for Nootbaar to help them sign Shohei Ohtani, so he should be on the debt market. I like the thought process here.
Wait, Reese say that?
You get the Yankees to trade even more for Nootbaar because he helps them sign Shohei Ohtani.
This is a person that is thinking outside the box.
Now we're thinking.
And if you're the Cardinals, you are. You're gonna take that.
I like
hey, Brooke, look at Brooke.
Call the Mets. Hey, Mets.
And she started itching.
Call the Mets. You guys really want Shohei? No. Sorry, Brooke. We're trading away your boy now.
We'll do one more. One more, Rocc.
Did you guys already say the Shohei State thing?
Yeah, okay, I like that one.
I was making sure we were getting a lot of it. Take it or leave whatever prospects they get. You're not excited because they're going to screw them up.
Oh, I'm going to leave it.
-1.
I know.
-1.
You said they're going to screw it up.
Yeah.
I said take it.
It concerns me about the evaluation sometimes. But hey, look, there's always next season and a chance to redeem yourself.
Do not utter those words in this city. That is a Chicago Cubs fans term. There's always next year. We will never,
buddy,
utter no. Buddy. Now I draw the damn line. Buddy. I will draw the line. Do not. Those words, that phrase, will not be allowed here.
It's
7 to 10.
As far as I'm concerned, it's April 1st, 2024.
It's April 1st, 2024.
No.
All right.
That is Chicago Cubs. Hell no.
We got CD fired up over here. Don't you dare say next season around him.
2024, baby.
It's always next year.
Central Division champions.
Oh, my God.
All right. Thank you, Rocc. That was Take It or Leave It. Coming up next, we have our fresh take. Do you feel more confident in the Cardinals' ability to change this team at the trade deadline or during the offseason? Send in your text that's ahead on the opening drive.
Schnucks Rewards app.
Lars is not likely to go anywhere at all unless the Cardinals are just overwhelmed. They got a lot of interest in him this winter. They really continue to get a lot of interest for a lot of reasons. I mean, everybody sees in the metrics and in the performance and the versatility and in the profile, let's be honest, in kind of his global profile. The Cardinals see what everybody else sees, and they're going to hold on to him. They like him, Edman. These are guys that they want to continue to be a part of their team moving forward. Brendan Donovan's an interesting one. Nolan Gorman is an interesting one too, especially as you think about like what that second base or what left-handed bat could bring, and how much the Cardinals need that.
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Kerry Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley, and that was Derrick Gould on Foul Territory talking about the future of one Lars Nootbaar. Brooke, I'm sure
Cardinals.
those comments made you extremely excited to know that Lars will potentially be here for the foreseeable future.
I am very excited, and I want to say that excited in a healthy way, because
it might
I don't want people to think I don't want people to think that I'm stalking him or anything. Lars,
you've had a conversation with him. Y'all are. He's cool with it. Everyone else is cool with it.
He is very aware of the Nutty Neuters of Newt Nation. He has a giant fan base. If you guys haven't seen his social media, it went from kind of like 30,000 to then when he represented Team Japan. I mean, I think like close to 1 million or something like that. Like absolutely crazy numbers. He has drawn a lot of interest because of his energy, also his play, and I would say to his usefulness. And I'm sure we'll get some texts in where people say, okay, he's overrated. I've been seeing that all over social media. He's overrated, but as Matthew pointed out earlier, low strikeout rate, high walk rate. There is a lot of upside. There's a reason why teams are interested in him. I will say I was a little surprised that Derrick Gould said that's a name that he brought up that's not going to be traded. I was a little surprised because, to me, when Mozeliak said the other day, there was a lot that came out in that interview with Martin Kilcoyne. Great interview, by the way. We've been playing a lot of that audio. Something that he said is that, maybe it's going to be some household names, maybe not, some guys who are some upcoming free agents. To me, I was kind of surprised that maybe you're already looking at Lars Nootbaar not being a name that you're not going to move. Because my concern, and maybe even though I'm a fan, my concern is, are we going to be in another Dylan Carlson-like situation where you told some guys you were going to move them, and now we're looking at why didn't we move them sooner when there was all this interest, especially if you're talking about building in 2024. We were talking about earlier, you don't want to say next season. You don't want to say you just want to say this is a wash. But at the same time, they haven't played well enough for you to really give them the benefit of the doubt at this point, right?
Yeah, I think the concern or the notion of who gets traded, who stays, is based on play. It's Dylan Carlson was in that role of cold dead hands last year, but his performance hasn't lived up to my cold dead hands at this point. So
I think they were really expecting him to take off this season.
And it's on the player. That's why I speak so much about players and their performance, because we understand as players, in order to get the contract that you want, in order to stay in the city or end up in the city that you want, you have to perform well. And Lars has performed well enough right now where they don't feel like he is one of the guys that they want to move from their core guys. I think Jordan
and
Walker.
His energy. I think we've been talking about some of those guys, and we're looking for those energy guys, somebody who can bring a spark. And we haven't seen it maybe that much from the season. He's battled with injuries, so he's been in and out. Maybe where he feels more comfortable, and then you say, we're going to keep you around. You don't have to worry about being moved. That allows him to bring some of that energy, that spark, because, I mean, everybody's seen the celebration. That's why so many people like him, is because you feel like he's a fun person to watch and be around. And I'm sure the players in the clubhouse feel the same way. He's very well respected in there.
Well, Brooke, Cliff Livingston was a fun player for the Chicago Bulls, but he wasn't good enough to play on that team. The thing that's allowing him to play is the fact that he can play. His energy is just a bonus. Cliff was he'd swing that damn towel on that sideline like no other. However,
if the rest of the team is not performing well, that's not much to cheer about.
And here's the thing, we're going to put it out to the YouTube audience audience, and you can actually follow us on YouTube at 101 ESPN STL. And we just put out the poll, and the poll question is pretty simple, everybody. Should Lars Nootbaar be considered an untouchable asset?
I like
you can go
that.
right now, watch us on the YouTube, and you can jump into the chat, and you can answer that poll right now.
We were talking about in the last segment where we were talking about talent, bringing in talent. Somebody texted in, I thought this was interesting, from the 314. We can develop talent. We are not very good at keeping it. See the All-Star game.
I think
So if we're talking about, because we're looking at, you're going to bring in some prospects, possibly at the trade deadline. You're going to be looking to maximize what you can get in return when it comes to Paul DeYoung and possibly Jordan Montgomery, Jack Flaherty, Tyler O'Neill, all these names, and you will be getting some prospects back. Is that a concern for you with the organization moving forward? Is the talent evaluation and also how they develop those players?
I think the Cardinal fans have to understand that it's difficult to make. You don't know what goes into the makeup of a player. Does this guy have an internal drive to be great, or is he just so talented that he has been allowed to skate and get away with things his entire life without putting in the work every single day? That's the difference when you go from level to level, high school, college, major leagues, whatever the case, AAA, AA, AAA, single A, whatever it is, the players get better every year. And talented people sometimes have always been so talented that they don't have to put in the work. But as you go further along, you have to put in more work to be greater. The notion that we did a disservice of getting Marcell Ozuna, who was coming off of an all-star season, coming off of a top 15 MVP season, that's crazy because he was the guy that everyone wanted at the time. Hindsight being 2020, you're like, oh, crap, that was a terrible decision. But that was just because he didn't perform well enough, not because he hadn't shown it. And then sometimes guys get paid. You have guys that get paid, and then their play falls off. It's about the internal makeup of a player and who they are and what they have in them. And that is something you cannot figure out with any analytic. You do not know what's inside of a person, what their makeup is. And so you're just going off of the numbers and hoping that this guy continues to perform at the level that you need him to.
I can tell you, when the first player, and not trying to badmouth anybody, the first player I thought of when you were talking about that specifically is Carlos Martinez, is the first name that I thought of. So much potential, and he was great early on, but do you remember all that happened towards the end there, where he did his own kind of routines during the offseason? It wasn't the proper routines that he should have been doing, and all that different kind of stuff. That's where, when you're talking about it's up to the players to take themselves to that next level, that was a player that I thought of specifically. Somebody who had so much potential, but just did not make those right moves. Really maximizing his talent.
But that's not on the front office. That's not on the coaching staff. That is an internal thing that every player, every man has to decide how hard they want to go in this game and how far they want to go and how much work are they willing to put in. And again, when you're extremely talented, sometimes you don't even know how to work. You don't understand the components to being great and how hard it is for others and how much work is required to stay at that level because you've always been that good of a player. So I think that's part of the problem that the Cardinals have had in some of their misses in terms of why guys haven't panned out in the manner in which they wanted to. We can take it back to Lars. Lars is a guy that may not be that elite level athlete, but is a guy that has the work ethic, a guy that is going to bring the energy, a guy that is going to show up every single day and do the job that is asked of him. Those are the players you want on your roster. You need guys like that, but then you need superstars. You need guys that can go out there and say, give me the ball, I'm going 8, and don't come out here and talk to me for 8 innings. I'll see you at the bottom of the 8th, and then I will give it to the closer. Those are the guys. You need those guys on your roster as well, and right now the Cardinals are lacking all of those components, which is why they are not a very good team.
Well, and I think one thing that concerns me is when I look at specifically Matthew Liberatore, his success in the minors, and I know that once you get to the bigs, you're facing a different level of talent. I totally get that. But what concerns me about Matthew Liberatore is that he was successful in the minors. He made some adjustments, comes up here, and he looked like he did last season. Looked exactly like he did last season towards the end there. And he probably will get another shot if they start moving guys around at the trade deadline. But at the same time, that concerns me a little bit because what has been an issue that we're seeing at the big league level? is pitching. Are we doing enough to really maximize and develop those guys? I know it's on the players, but at the same time, are we making sure that we're doing the best possible for these guys and making sure that we're getting the most out of them and that they're fully prepared and to what they're going into each game?
That's Brooke. I'm Caray. Coming up next, we go to the celebrity line and talk to former Titan safety Blaine Bishop. We'll ask him about that Super Bowl and what he's got going on now. That's next on the Opening Drive. Hey, it's Caray, and if you're dealing with pain, I've got some great news for you. My friend Dr. Sheen can help you. You know, the older we get, the more pain our bodies can feel. I've been dealing with pain for some time. Sometimes it's just from sleeping, walking, maybe a little bit lifting. My shoulders, ankles, knees have all been in pain, but lately it's been my elbows. I thought I'd have to deal with this pain until I met Dr. Sheen, and he taught me about PBM. PBM is light therapy that helps you heal. The light stimulates the cells in the damaged area, which allows your body to heal itself faster. It decreases inflammation, and it helps eliminate pain and discomfort. Even after my first treatment, my elbows started feeling great. My knees started feeling great when I started getting treatment on those. My physical therapist told me that I had much less inflammation than I had had in the past, and I am feeling at my best. And if you want to feel at your best, you need to see Dr. Sheen, talk to him, see how he can help you out. You can check him out online today at SBI.com. That's THESBI.com, THESBI.com, and tell them Caray sent you.
Welcome back to the Opening Drive. Brooke Grimsley here, along with Super Bowl champion Caray Davis and Matthew Rocchio. We're going to head to the celebrity line now to talk to former Tennessee Titan and now co-host of the Blaine and Mickey Show on 104.5 The Zone in Nashville, Blaine Bishop. Blaine, thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you doing?
Well, I appreciate you having me on in this market. It's always fun to catch up with you, Brooke. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Blaine, I'm slowly trying to make St. Louis a little bit more of a Titan town. I'm working on it. I'm edging my way into it. Well, we've been talking a lot about the greatest show on turf this week and the Music City Miracle, of course. And we've also been talking about the Cardinals. I know that Mickey Ryan is a big Cardinals fan. Is he coping okay with the Cardinals right now? And has he roped you into all of that?
Definitely not, but he's for sure a Cardinals fan. But he's on a Debbie Downer right now. But,
he's not alone.
Yeah, so he's not too happy right now. So yeah, I haven't been keeping up, but just through him, I feel like I know what's going on because he is not happy.
Oh, no, he's not at all. Neither are Cardinals fans. Well, as we were mentioning there, the greatest show on turf in the Music City Miracle, we talked to Mike Jones a little bit earlier this week. We'll just start off with your best memory of facing the greatest show on turf and just being a part of the Music City Miracle.
Oh, my. Well, there aren't any best memories because we lost. So maybe the best memory is that we played them in the regular season at home, and we won that game. Did a totally different scheme and everything else, probably, outsmarted ourselves. But, naturally, on a serious note, they have, Hall of Famers all over the place. Was really tough. Guys are really good. Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk, you can go down the list. Even Torrey Holt's going to be, in the Hall of Fame, too, as well, with Kurt Warner. So it was a tough task. We had a couple guys down and out, especially at the corner position. So we thought we could hang in there and get after the quarterback and see where we would land. And naturally, the greatest show on turf at the end there, made a big play. We had good coverage. Javon Curse hit him on the arm there with Warner, and ball was underthrown, and Bruce made a heck of a play. And then off to the races, one of the fastest guys in the league at the time. So, it was a tough blow. But, I think most of the people, as much as we didn't win the game, we got a lot of respect in this league during that season. And how we kept fighting all the way to the end. So, unfortunately, I thought the team we played, our team the next year was actually better, and then we got beat by the Ravens with a lot of special team snafus, so holding them to 104 yards in total offense. But the greatest show on turf was something special. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. At least we haven't. Man, woo.
They were a special team. Blaine, let's talk about the current Titans team. Last year finished 7-10, lost I think 7 of their last games, and not a great season, not a great way to end the season. The AFC South is a division that is winnable. What do you see for this Titans team for this upcoming season?
Man, that was kind of crazy to see them lose 7 games in a row. And they had a lot of injuries, especially up front on the offensive line, which is horrendous. So I've never seen a coach lose 7 in a row and then keep his job. So it was more so the talent. So Vrabel, I thought, did a great job coaching and kept them in all the games. So they ended up letting the GM go. So they have a new GM, Rand Carthon, who's been in this league and actually, was a backup running back in this league, and his dad was a starting fullback there for the Giants back in the day. So he has a lot of knowledge, kind of brought in a whole different vibe to the team. They're getting their offensive line together with the drafts and signings, so that looked pretty good until they had a player, I'm going to call him NPF, Petit Ferrer from Ohio State, who started every game last year as a rookie, third-round pick, is now suspended for the gambling policy. And he was, I guess, betting on games, not games, NFL games, but like other fantasy or basketball or something else. So I don't think he knew the rules. This guy's pretty sharp, too, by the way. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe some of the guys didn't know the rules. So this year is going to be kind of an interesting deal with new coordinator, Tim Kelly, who was with the Texans like in 19 or so, did a real good job with Watson, and then on to Mills. So I'm interested to see if they open up the offense and see how much that affects Derrick Henry and how much he has touches in a game, because he's a guy that kind of gets revved up as he goes. And they have a new backup running back in the third round. Tajay Spears has looked pretty good. They still need to upgrade the wide receiver position. So I don't know if we're quite there yet at that position. That's why DeAndre Hopkins signing would be great. And that will kind of level the playing field for everything else. Defensively, you got one of the best in the business at D tackle in Jeffrey Simmons. So, and then they got Kevin Byard in the back end there, and they got some corners who's young and up and coming. So they got a great front four. So this is a team that's probably in the middle of the road type team. But as you mentioned, Derrick Henry You know, the AFC South is, you know, one to be taken by anybody. Jaguars are up-and-coming team with a lot of talent because they have, you know, a lot of picks. So their talent is more than the Titans. I just think the coaching there will put them in the mix there to be competing for the AFC South.
Well, Blaine, I will tell you, you all are in good hands with Rand. Rand is my guy. We played together, so I've known him for a while. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. He's a good guy. He's got a great mind, and he loves the game of football, and he loves the running back position, which brings me to my next question. Derrick Henry is a throwback. I played running back, fullback in the league. I love the way he plays the game of football. What makes him different from anyone else you've seen play this game?
Well, I mean, I would say he's a unicorn, first of all, because of his size and his speed. And I think that kind of what makes him kind of special. It really is something to behold, just to see him go out on the field. I think to a certain extent, I don't think people realize how big he is till they see him live. I'm talking about players now, Caray, and that's kind of intimidating in itself. And then to see what he's done on film, you know, you get out there and go, man, this dude is this big running like this. And so, and I think he keeps evolving his game. He keeps getting better. He started doing jump cuts and things of that nature the last year, and I was like, whoa, this is kind of on the CJ 2K level. Because he, you know, being a big guy, tall like he is, and long-legged, you know, it's kind of hard for him. If somebody gets in the backfield real quick, it's kind of tough for him to change the directions. So he started showing signs of that. I want to see if he can impact the game as a pass receiver and not running screens and, you know, short flare passes. I'm talking about running routes down the field and become a threat. Once he does that, I think there's nothing could say he's not one of the best running backs. Because right now you still can say he's one of the best runners of running backs. But the complete package type player, I don't know if he's quite there yet as impacting in the passing game because they have to take him out on third down. So that's I don't like that because first of all, great players adapt and they impact the game even when they don't have the ball. So I'm interested to see if they use him in that role, especially as this is contract year. His contract is up. He's reaching 30. As you know, when you're playing running back, 30 is like you're old and he's still producing. So I think he's going to break some Titans record and be the Titans all-time leading rusher. I think he's going to get 1,600 yards or more still, and it's going to have a phenomenal year. It's going to be interesting because him and Tannehill and kind of Byard are kind of in this, you know, phase where they're still playing at a high level, but their contracts are getting close to the end, and they may move forward, as you know, the business side of the National Football League.
You talked about size and speed. Does he remind you of your former teammate, Eddie George? What are the differences?
That's what I was going down the road. I would say I think King Henry is faster.
Okay.
His vertical running speed is faster. I think Eddie George was probably a little bit more complete of a player with his pass catching as well as his pass protection. I think that's something else that Henry needs to continually work on. So I'm real big on, I like players who are multifaceted. So like a Marshall Faulk would be at the top of the list for me. That's why they're paying the Kamaras and McCaffreys, and those guys can do multiple games. And then you circle them on the you know, on the press release of all week. This is a guy we got to stop. You know, where Henry's kind of this one trick pony. At least that's how they utilize him, as just a runner. And I don't like that because I think he's more than that. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets a chance to do that in this kind of new form of an offense that they're running. They still have to run, you know, things that Henry likes, but I'm interested to see how he fits in that. So I would say, you know, the home run threat, probably Henry wins that, but as more of a complete player, I think Eddie George. I think he was a little more physical, and Henry's bigger than Eddie George. So, yeah.
One more question.
Henry just was fun.
Oh, yes. I mean, both have been really, really fun to watch. It's been a treat as a Titans fan. One more question before we head out. You mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. I know that's the hot topic in Nashville right now. What do you think the likelihood is of the Titans landing him?
Man, I said early on I wouldn't sign him unless he agreed to, you know, I wouldn't go over $10 million. This is kind of just the way, unless somebody gets hurt, you have to up the ante, and it's kind of worked out that way. I don't know what they're presenting to him. I have no idea. I think he was trying to, you know, which his agent's supposed to do is, you know, develop some, you know, some bids and everything else with the Titans as well as New England, because he knows the coordinators on both teams. that he played under, so he knows the offense, so he can get in camp late and still kind of wait around. And then see, I'm worried about more Kansas City because if they sign Jones, then I can open up their cap as well as Mahomes or Kelsey into some extensions that they will have some space in. Who wouldn't want to play with Mahomes and your wide receiver, then kind of increase your market? You're still going to get the ball. I played with Andy Reid with Philadelphia. He loves throwing the ball all over the yard. Mm-hmm. So I'm more concerned with that, and he's a great dude. Andy Reid. So I want to put it 50-50. I want to put it 50. I think it's increasing as time goes on. As Caray would know, you want to go where familiarity with the offense, so he wouldn't have to learn anything new, and he can go right in. And then now you're just working on your timing with your quarterback, which Tannehill, to me, is still a serviceable quarterback in the National Football League.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Blaine. We really appreciate you taking the time. And also just thank you for everything. You're the whole reason that I'm even into this radio world right now. You, Mickey, and Brent, I know that some people are on different shows, but you guys are a huge part of why I was able to pursue this. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate it. Anytime for you, Brooke. And pleasure meeting you too, Caray, as well.
Nice meeting you as well. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, much respect. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Blaine. That was Blaine Bishop, former Tennessee Titan, and now co-host of the Blaine and Mickey Show on 104.5 The Zone in Nashville, Tennessee. Coming up next, we have the fight, and we need a fighter, right? We need a fighter, so be sure to text into the Air Comfort Service text line. That is 314-399-9646, 314-399 YO-HO. The fight is coming up next.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals back in action starting the second half of their season. They have a 3-game set here against the Washington Nationals. Game 1 tonight, 7:15 first pitch. The Nationals have yet to announce their starter, while the Cardinals will send Miles Michaelis to the bump. Michaelis on the season, 5-5 with a 4.23 ERA. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Ooh,
Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Grimsley here. We don't have Megamind in today, so it is going to be Carey Davis. And I was asking Rockio, we need a nickname. Okay, so if somebody could text in.
Muscle Mind.
Muscle Mind. I don't know if that's nice though.
I don't know. You asked me to come up with a nickname like
Okay.
Megamind for Carey, and it hit me right there in the moment.
We'll have somebody text in. We need somebody to text in and give us a nickname for Carey Davis when he steps in for Megamind for the fight. We'll come up with something good. Muscle Mind isn't terrible. That's a great start.
Brains and Brawn, Carey Davis.
Okay. All right.
Carey Brains and Brawn Davis.
Now we are going to welcome in to fight Carey Davis or Muscle Mind.
Yeah, there we go.
Erik, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Great. Are you ready for the fight against Carey?
I think so. I'll do my best.
All right. I like that positive attitude for Friday. We'll go ahead and get started. So since 2000, 2 Cardinals have led the National League in hits during a season. Albert Pujols in 2003, and who else? Scott Rowland, Paul Goldschmidt, or Matt Carpenter?
I'll go with Matt Carpenter.
All right, happy birthday to the owner of Rivas Island, Darrell Rivas. For which school did Rivas play his college ball? Was that Syracuse, Pittsburgh, or Michigan?
Michigan.
Since first being awarded following the 1957 season, who is the only non-quarterback to win multiple NFL MVP awards? Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, or Walter Payton?
Jim Brown.
And when the Cardinals hosted the All-Star Game, or when St. Louis hosted the All-Star Game in 2009, which American League player took home the MVP award? Was that Nelson Cruz, Carl Crawford, or Torrey Hunter?
Can I get the options one more time? I'm sorry.
No problem. When the Cardinals and St. Louis hosted the All-Star Game in 2009, which AL player took home the MVP award? Nelson Cruz, Carl Crawford, or Torrey Hunter?
Carl Crawford.
All right, we will double-check our score, and we will bring in Randy Carricker.
Erik, how are you feeling?
Not well. I don't know if I got any correct.
You don't think you got any correct? I believe in you. I believe you were very confident coming in. I believe in you today. But you do have Carey Davis, who is fired up. Oh, here he comes. Okay. He's got water refilled and coffee, I believe. Carey, say hi to Erik.
Erik, how you doing?
Pretty well. How are you doing, Carey?
Oh, I don't know, man. Let's see.
Oh,
see how it goes.
Usually you're a little confident coming into this.
When you don't get the words that Rocc uttered to me on the way out.
What did he say?
Something what Pat Maroon told the Bruins.
Oh. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, take the options, Carey.
All right. Well, let's get into the fight. Also, I put it out there, no, you can't see the text line because I don't want you
I can't see
to give anything away.
No, I don't want to see it.
I really... because I'm trying to figure out, we're trying to give you a nickname because you have Megamind, and so I've opened it up to the texters to give you. Rocc gave you Muscle Mind.
Okay. That sounds like Muscle Hamster.
Yeah.
That was a great nickname for him, though. Doug Martin was a great nickname.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Question number 1. Since 2000, 2 Cardinals have led the National League in hits during a season. Albert Pujols in 2003, and who else?
Matt Carpenter.
Happy birthday to the owner of Rivas Island, Darrell Rivas. From which school did he play his college ball?
Well, him and a young man named LaShawn McCoy used to be practicing after we practiced in Pittsburgh. Pitt. We share a facility with the Pittsburgh Panthers.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
I know you didn't.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Question
we share a
number
facility with those guys.
3. Since first being awarded following the 1957 season, who is the only non-quarterback to win multiple NFL MVP awards?
Ooh. Non-quarterback to win multiple. Ooh. This is offensive MVP? This is not defensive MVP?
Let's see.
This is NFL MVP.
It just says NFL MVP awards.
Tricky.
I'm Ron Burgundy. I just read what Rocc puts
All right,
here.
give me the options.
Okay.
Please.
Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton.
Oh. Well, I wasn't thinking. I'm glad I did ask for the options. Jim Brown, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders. I feel like Barry only won it once. I'm going to have to say Jim Brown.
All right, Carrie, when the Cardinals hosted the All-Star Game, St. Louis hosted the All-Star Game in 2009, which American League player took home the MVP award?
Oh, Lord. 2009?
It was a 2009 All-Star Game.
So the Yankees win the World Series that year?
Carrie, you can get options on a second question if you want.
If you want to,
I want to
it's
go with.
Friday.
I feel like it's fair.
You ask the text line and let's see what they say.
No, who cares?
I want to go with a Yankee. You said American League?
I said American League. They won that year.
Is it Captain America? Let's go Derek Jeter.
So you're gonna make us do a tiebreaker, huh?
No.
Well, you already revealed. Oh, come on! You already revealed it.
It's the last question. The next thing I do is tell everybody that it's tied.
Okay.
That's all I got to do. That's all I got left to do, Brooke.
I don't know. Sometimes I like a little build up to it, so we know. You know where you say it was.
Sorry.
Remember,
Hold on a second. Let me
typically do that where he's
scores.
like, it was a close one today.
Let me calculate the scores here. 1, 2.
Oh, just get to you.
3.
Just get
we
to
have a
your
tie in today's fight, which means we have to go to the tiebreaker.
I wanted a big to do about it because I think it's a big deal. I like tiebreakers.
I have a big to do for tiebreakers. I just tell people it's a tie, and then I explain the rules.
Gosh darn it.
The rules here are simple. We will read out our tiebreaker question. It's going to be closest to the pin. We will give Carey Davis a moment to write down his answer. We will then get Eric's answer audibly. We'll then have Carey confirm what he wrote down. And again, whoever is closest to the pin is going to be the winner of today's fight. Eric, do you understand those rules?
I do.
Carey, do you understand those rules?
Yep, hear them every day.
Okay, now you're making it a big to do for the tiebreaker. Carey, are you sure you understand it?
I think so.
Okay, good to know.
Oh, his computer almost fell. It's broke now.
Yeah, it's falling apart. Sorry, my tiebreaker question didn't transfer over for some reason. So here we go. Here's the tiebreaker question. LeBron James has played 1,421 games in the regular season. 1,421 games in the regular season. How many times has he scored 20-plus points? LeBron James has played 1,421 regular season games. How many times has he scored 20-plus points? Just a moment, Eric. Let Carey do a little math and write down his answer.
100. How many games?
He has played in 1,421 regular season games. 1,421. How many times has he scored 20-plus points?
Okay, let me go a little higher.
How many times has Albert Pujols?
That's a different one. It didn't transfer over on the paper for some reason.
Okay, I was really confused. I was like, we're not looking at the same thing.
You do not, just in case Eric is watching.
You saw the number. I scratched out one.
Yeah,
I saw the other one. Eric, what is your guess? Again, how LeBron James played in 1,421 regular season games. How many times has he scored 20-plus points?
I don't like it. Too high.
It's a shot in the dark, but I'm going to say 925.
Ooh, Carey Davis, what was your guess?
900.
Ooh, can you show the...
I scratched out, and then I went with that.
So you went with 900. Eric went with 925.
This is Price is Right for real.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Price is Right rules are in effect. So if LeBron James scored between 901, or I guess anything between under 900, but between 901 and 924 times, I guess I'd give it to Carey, but... this is going to be a close one. Did Eric guess perfectly against Carey's? Ring that bell.
The winner and champion of the fight, Average Joe Listener.
The Fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis. With the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
I don't usually get to enjoy this song. I'm usually very fearful when I play this song. So, Erik, congratulations. You took down Carey Davis. LeBron James scored over 20-plus points in over 1,100 games out of 1,400. So the 925 Price is Right rules in effect. He prices right you, Carey. It was a small window to beat him, and LeBron James nowhere close. So, Erik, congratulations. You are the winner of today's fight.
Excellent. Thank you.
There you go. You'll be taking on Randy Carricker on Monday, so good luck with that. We'll go through these answers from today's fight question. Since 2000, the Cardinals have led the NL in hits. Two Cardinals have led the NL in hits during a season. Albert Pujols and Matt Carpenter in 2013. Darrelle Revis did, in fact, go to Pittsburgh because Carey had that cheat code in his back pocket. Yep. I didn't know. Since 1957, when the NFL MVP award started being awarded, Jim Brown is the only non-quarterback, and he won it 3 times. And when the Cardinals hosted the All-Star game in 2009, it was Carl Crawford who took home the All-Star Game MVP award. So a 3-3 tie, and then a win in the tiebreaker for Erik. Erik, thank you so much for joining the show and joining the fight. We'll talk to you on Monday.
I appreciate it. Have a great weekend, guys.
Good job, Erik.
That was a great
Was
competition.
Derek Jeter on the list?
No, it was Nelson Cruz, Carl Crawford, Torrey Hunter.
I probably would have.
It happens. All right. Well, that was the fight. A great fight, by the way, with Carey Davis. And we're still working on that. I've seen some good nicknames. I saw someone that said the bearded brain. I'm going to run with that one.
Oh, the bearded brain.
I like
good.
that one. Anyways, that was the fight. Coming up next, we're going to head to the celebrity line with former Major League Baseball catcher and co-host of Foul Territory, Erik Kratz. That's ahead next on the opening drive.
Dylan Carlson. Last trade deadline, he was of interest to a lot of teams because of his play. This trade deadline, he's going to get some interest from teams because of his potential and his versatility and maybe how they see him fit in his ballpark. Hicks to Texas, that makes sense. The Cardinals trying to maximize what they can get for Hicks makes a lot of sense. They'll also have discussions about other relievers. But I think, it's a good place to start, which is where the Cardinals are starting by saying, look, we're not talking about Lars in this conversation. He's part of the future. He's part of that 2024 and beyond. And the Cardinals see exactly the potential and the production and the profile that every other team sees with him.
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Kerry Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley, and that voice you heard was Derrick Gould on Foul Territory with our guest. We go to the celebrity line, and we visit with former MLB catcher, co-host of the Foul Territory. Erik Kratz has a book out called The Tao of the Backup Catcher, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But, Erik, let's talk about what you heard from Derrick Gould and this Cardinals team and kind of some of the things that they're dealing with right now. First of all, thank you for joining us. But what do you think about this Cardinals team right now and what they're dealing with?
Thanks for having me on. I think they're dealing with a lot of L's, and they thought they were going to have a lot of W's this year. I don't think a lot of people saw what was going to happen this year, and I think this might be the first move that Mo is actually making in the right direction for this season.
Now, Erik, you played catcher for 11 seasons, and we had a little bit of an issue with our starting catcher where some were saying he didn't know what pitchers needed to throw or no continuity between him and the pitching staff. What did you make of that when you heard about that conflict between the pitcher and Willson Contreras?
I think that was just one of the dramas surrounding Willson throughout this year. I came on a St. Louis radio station earlier in the year, and we talked about this, and I think it's something that, yes, that is definitely a Willson Contreras problem. The recent thing that came out that Michael Kay said, whether it's true or not, or whether it's the same instance, Helsley came on our show and confirmed that Contreras had called pitches that the pitcher didn't have, but I can also attest that I know there was a pitcher that when Yadier Molina came to the mound to talk to him when he came into the game. He was a rookie at the time, and he came to the mound to talk to him, and he goes, hey, you know what? I want you to throw a curveball right here. And the pitcher was like, well, in his mind, he's like, I don't have a curveball, but if Yadier Molina thinks I should throw one, I've definitely seen guys throw them. So it's one of those things that when you have so much street cred, like Yadier Molina, guys trust it. And when you are, you have a little bit of ineptitude from your previous employer. I mean, the Cubs used to call pitches for Willson Contreras that, pitchers they need time. They're like, they're definitely a softer breed. Pitchers are a softer breed in the sense that they have to, they have to be coddled. They have to
handled with care.
Encouraged, handled with care. There you go. So, I don't think it's as bad as they say about Willson, but I also don't think it's $87.5 million for 5 years as good as Mo gave him his contract.
Well, with Willson Contreras, you mentioned the Cubs. Do you think that the Cardinals should have had a little bit more in place to help Willson Contreras this season?
Yes. 100,000 million %. Yes. They see now, I hope, what Yadier did for people. Not just because his ability, his physical ability declined from his Hall of Fame stature that he had earlier in his career towards the end of his career. That happens to everybody. He played till he's almost 40 years old. So that's nothing against him. But the organization now sees this guy was doing scouting reports. This guy was taking care of video analysis people. There's people that need to step up for that organization to fill some of the voids that weren't in Yadier Molina's contract that someone has to pick up right now. And to say, oh, well, Willson Contreras is getting paid $87.5 million to do that. Sorry, that's unfair because you're talking about a Hall of Fame catcher that you're replacing, but you also have to replace his bat is super easy to replace. To me, I think his physical defense is super easy to replace. Mm-hmm. The leadership and everything else that he brought that you're now seeing as, holy cow, like this starting rotation. It can't be that much worse 1 year removed from Yadier Molina being gone. So the common factor, the common denominator here is people have to step up for what Yadi was bringing to the table.
Now, Erik, you recently released a book called The Tao of the Backup Catcher, and in one of the excerpts it says, it is a story of grown men who once dreamed of stardom, generational wealth. Instead, they were handed a broom and a deeper understanding of who wins and why, who stands tall and who folds, and who will invest their own lives in those who might not. Explain to me what that means as a backup catcher. It sounds like I played fullback, so I feel like we have some of the same interests at heart. Tough guys, hard-nosed guys, heart and soul of the team. Tell me what backup catcher means to you.
You are spot on, and I love the fullback analogy because you definitely didn't sit there going, man, I hope they don't give me the ball to run. You know, why are they calling my play? No, when your number got called, you were like, hell yeah, here we go.
About damn time.
I'm going to bust some people. Yeah. I might even break this open for 60 yards.
Yes.
3 yards later, they're like, all right, let's go back to the regular guy. You start blocking.
Indeed.
And there's nothing and truly, there's nothing wrong with that because somebody has to do that. Somebody's got to open the holes for the running back. And those holes aren't open for the running back without somebody grinding it, putting their nose in there, getting after it for that guy, and ultimately for the team. You know, that's what we play sports for. That is what irritates me so much when teams tank or they have the process or like you never once sat in the backyard or went down to the creek and was like, hey, I bet I can not throw these next 3 stones as far as you, but as I get better at throwing these stones, there's a chance I might be able to beat you. No, first one, you pick that thing up and you're like, yeah, I just skipped it 60 times across the pond. You can't beat me. Like, that's just the ultimate competition. And really, a fullback, a backup catcher, they want to be the best. Absolutely they do. But you know what? On this day, they're the fullback. They're the backup catcher.
Well, in the book, too, you talk about your experience of being just a journeyman. What was it, 9 teams across 11 years? Is that correct? I mean, that's a lot of moving back and forth. What was that experience like for you and some of the highs and lows that you lay out in the book?
It was nine big league teams that I played a game for. I technically suited up for 11 big league teams.
Wow.
And I played for 14 different organizations in the minor leagues and the big leagues. So my wife and I when I quit playing, we were married for almost 20 years. We were married for 19 years. So I got married right before I got drafted, and we had moved. Ready for this?
Yes.
1 month or more. We lived in a place 1 month or more, 94 different times.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my goodness.
So the book delves into all of this. The book delves into that kind of thing. And the game, I think sports in general, you know, we highlight the superstars because, well, that's what they are. They're superstars. They're the elite of the elite. And there is probably more of a connection in my career to other people who never made the big leagues, never made the top professional league. They have more of a connection to me than the superstars. But the superstars are for the right reason. You know, they are advertised. They're the ones who are cheered for because they're out there every day. They're doing way more on the surface than I am, than, you know, somebody like me. But I think it's really cool because Tim, the author, really shows in this book that you can, like, other people could do this. Other people could make it to the big leagues. There's just a different path. And sometimes people want to be the one that gets the huge contract. And if you don't get that contract, you know what? I'm going to do something else. And that's not quitting. Mm-hmm. That's just making life choices. There's nothing wrong with that. Not at all.
I know you guys have been talking a lot on Foul Territory about where the unicorn is going to go. The mega superstar, you're talking about superstars, mega superstar Shohei Ohtani. What's your prediction?
He's not going to the Pirates. How about that? Is that a good?
There you go. Okay, I like that. I would not like to see him in a Pirates uniform. Thank you for that.
I guess the strong money would be that he's going to the Dodgers, that he's going to the Mets. You know, if I were to take Dodgers and Mets versus the field, you know, I'd probably take the money on Dodgers or Mets. But to me, if you're a team and you have a facility, and when I mean a facility, a stadium and a whole village surrounding your stadium, Cardinals, you should be offering this man some type of lump sum of money. And it's going to be the largest contract you've ever offered anybody. Like, teams are going to say, well, we've never offered anybody over $300 million. Well, you're right. You should offer this man over $500 million because ultimately, let's say like right now he has a blister on his finger because of a split fingernail. That is, you know, that's a detriment to a pitcher. Absolutely. Well, you know what? He's still going to go out and hit dingers for you at the plate. So there is no, like, and all that aside, all the baseball aside, he has such a marketability in every market. It's almost worth, they're saying, Forbes was saying this year it's worth $15 million. They're saying next year it could be anywhere from $20 to $22 million of marketability value, which is crazy. So now all of a sudden you're talking about putting $50 million out for a player, possibly $55 million, but you're getting $20 million back. Like, all of a sudden Shohei Ohtani for $50 million becomes a deal? Like, what? Like, this guy he is crazy. I think, to me, the dark horse here could be a Boston, or I know it's going to cringe for people in St. Louis.
Yeah.
No.
Chicago. Because
sorry.
Because everybody looks at the Dodgers and goes, and people tell me, no way, you're stupid. Everybody looks at the Dodgers and says, wow, they didn't spend this year. The Red Sox didn't really spend, but they picked up a countryman in Yoshida. The Cubs didn't really spend. I mean, they haven't extended Marcus Stroman yet. You know, so to me, they're not spending. Why would they not be spending? They have another countryman there in Seiya, Suzuki. I think they're dark horses for a bidding war, which ultimately is what teams have to do. You can't just let the Dodgers say, well, we'll give you $550 million. You got to make the Dodgers at least pay for it, like Grandma Jean at the auction, at the silent auction. You got to make her pay for those sticky buns.
I love that.
Erik Kratz, co-host of Foul Territory, author of Tao of the Backup Catcher. You can catch Foul Territory every day, every weekday from 12 to 2 Central. Subscribe for free on YouTube and catch the pod version on Apple and Spotify. Erik, where can they locate your book and where can they purchase it at?
Pretty much every bookstore across America, Amazon. You can get the audio book. That's the only disappointing part of the book is I'm not the one reading it, but then I download it. I know. I got a real nasally voice. They didn't want to hear me for 9 hours.
The stories would have been greater though. With your, I mean, it's you know it.
Yeah, and that's part of why I wanted to do it, but it would have been. They knew with my ADD, they would have been like, hey, we got to retake that. You didn't even read the book. Like, I would have just gone off the cuff.
Oh, man. Well, we appreciate you joining us. We will definitely look to get you on in the future. Best of luck going forward and talk to you soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Enjoy the trade deadline.
Indeed. Backup catchers and fullbacks unite.
Yes, sir.
That was Erik Kratz, co-host of Foul Territory. Coming up next, we have our Rush Hour Reset. We'll talk about what the Blues, I keep saying Blues, the Cardinals. I have the Blues on my mind.
Because maybe there's blue on there.
What
did they do?
What happened?
We're going to have a little Blues news on the other side.
We'll talk about the Blues news coming up next
That was
on the
a
opening
good
drive.
tease.
on 101 ESPN. It's time to recap the biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Brought to you by Clubhouse Turf, your exclusive partner of Celebrity Greens. We're redefining private golf.
The way I look at the Cardinals is they clearly have to look themselves in the mirror and recognize they don't have enough pitching. Even if a miracle happened and they were able to squeak it, they don't have the pitching to win the World Series. So why would you buy talent? Why would you trade away young talent for Lucas Giolito and Lance Lynn to put them in your rotation when you know that isn't going to help you win the World Series? There are teams like the Cleveland Guardians. They could win the division. That's great. Are they going to be buyers? No matter what they buy, they're not good enough to win the World Series. So a lot of teams have to have some soul searching right now, including the St. Louis Cardinals.
Welcome back to the opening drive. That was Greg Amsinger yesterday from MLB Network talking about the Cardinals' approach to the trade deadline and also potential moves that they might make this offseason. I think that there's like a laundry list or maybe a honey to-do list of what the Cardinals need to do.
Got a little work to do.
Just a little bit. Yeah. What is tops for you guys? Trade deadline, off season. The
free
first
agency
thing,
is tops for me.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
the first thing you're going to approach.
An ace.
Okay.
Are you going to get that ace in trading at the trade deadline?
Did Greg stutter?
Yay or nay?
Did Greg stutter?
He said no. He said you're not going to get him, correct?
I'm just saying.
I'm saying free agency. You got to go get him.
All right.
I wish I could make a punting sound. The punt on the 2023 season.
Yeah. Just watch it fade away.
Hey man, you saw the musicians on the Titanic when they did that movie. How they were sitting there playing
with the ship. Yes, it's just like that.
So you're cool with trading all the current stars for prospects, right?
They aren't going to get anything that's going to help them this season. So the prospects are, it is what it is.
Here's
Whatever
the thing.
I
think it's 100% going to be both. You're going to have to address both of those things. Trade deadline, you're going to have to make some moves because you can't just let Jordan Montgomery and Jack Flaherty walk away for nothing. Mm-hmm. And Paul DeJong, he's gone. I think we can all agree on that. Tyler O'Neill, he's gone. And you might have to sweeten the pot. If there's a potential where you could get an ace pitcher at the trade deadline, wouldn't you want to?
Which pitcher would that be? If it's Dylan Cease, yes, sign me up.
And maybe I'm just saying, if you sweeten the pot a little bit, you add a position player in a Tommy Edman, even Derek Gould mentioned Brendan Donovan. He said Lars Nootbaar is an untouchable, but if it's something that you really, really need moving forward, I don't think that there's anybody off the table except for those core guys that Mozeliak was talking about the other day, that core group of Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and I'm going to put Wilson Contreras in there because guess what? You just signed him. He's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be here.
Whether you like it or not, he's a part of.
He got $87.5 million reasons to be here.
And also, I think we can now say after multiple comments from guys like Derek Gould and Greg Amsinger, Wilson Contreras is going to be here next year. Nolan Arenado is going to be here next year. Paul Goldschmidt is going to be here next year.
I agree. And you had some Blues news for us, right?
Yes. How about this breaking Blues news? They've signed somebody to a contract. It's an entry-level deal, and that's Dalibor Dvorsky. Their first-round pick has signed his 3-year entry-level contract for the St. Louis Blues, and they sent out the tweet, quote-unquote, "We told you we liked this kid."
Yeah.
So good. Nice. Congratulations to Dalibor Dvorsky.
When is he going to be here?
Probably best case scenario 2 years. Worst case scenario 3
years.
Okay.
For being optimistic.
So how are the Blues how are they gonna do this year?
They're going to be good.
They're going to be good.
They're going to be good.
Hey, you guys yesterday were talking about how they're going to be the next to win a cup. So I hope you guys think that they're going to be good.
Was it the playoffs? We go all the way to the
You said world championship.
I think you're going a little further.
They might have edited it a little bit.
We said playoffs before the Cardinals because they have the next season.
Wasn't the question who's going to win a championship first?
It was who's going to make the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Playoffs?
And as much as you keep expanding the MLB playoffs, still ain't 8.
You still don't think next season the Cardinals will be able to make the playoffs?
The Blues are going to make it this season.
Okay,
so
well,
they technically have made it before.
Okay, if we're being technical about it, then maybe.
Yeah, sure. That's what we're going to go with. Right? Rock?
Is that what we're rocking and rolling with right now? Okay.
What is Rocc rolling with?
Well, anyways, the Cardinals start the second half of the season.
I'm 100%. Blues are back in the playoffs first, 100%.
Okay. Well, just because theoretically and mathematically, because we like math here. We're big math
We're all
people.
about the numbers.
They technically would be making it first. Anywho, the Cardinals start the second half of the season tonight facing the Nationals. First pitch is at 7:15, and it's going to be Miles Mikolas. They haven't announced who's going to be starting for the Nats yet.
Still TBA the last time I checked.
Okay. Well, you can look at former Cardinal Lane Thomas. Everybody likes to do that. But coming up next, we're going to head to the celebrity line, and we're going to talk to Chip Caray to see if he's doing a hot girl walk today. That's ahead on the opening drive.
The opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
Welcome back to the Opening Drive. I'm Kerry Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley, and we go to the celebrity line and talk to our great friend, Cardinals broadcaster Chip Caray. Chip, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Happy second half.
Thank you. Same here. Randy is out today, so you just got us. So my question for you, I know the All-Star break was a time to decompress and get away from baseball. You told us you were going home to be around family. My question is, did you get the entire honey-do list done?
I did. You take for granted doing the fun things like going to Home Depot and the hardware store and pulling weeds and cutting grass and getting to play catch with your kid in the front yard and actually having a home-cooked meal. So it was a lot of fun to get home ever so briefly. And but, once you're home for 2 or 3 days with the itinerant nature of our jobs, every 2 or 3 days we're packing and unpacking and going someplace else. The itch to get going for the second half started to kick in, and here we are ready to go, and hopefully the Cardinals can play a lot better in the second half than they did in the first.
Well, much like how you had a honey to-do list, we've been talking about how the Cardinals have a honey to-do list as well of things that they need to accomplish and address. What would, in your opinion, be at the top of that list?
Got to get pitching, and more pitching. And when you think you have enough pitching, get more pitching, especially swing and miss stuff. That would be the first on my potential list. And secondly, I think there has to be more athleticism. I think when you look at what the Cincinnati Reds have done, and Ellie De La Cruz, yes, unicorn-type player, but athleticism and speed and that kind of dynamism is really the name of the game in our sport now. With the changes in shift rules and all of that, I think that's really going to impact a lot of clubs in ways that none of us could have expected. And certainly I think it has affected the Cardinals. But those would be my two things. If I were in charge, pitching, get as much stockpile, as much swing and miss stuff as you can get, and get as many athletes who can really play baseball as you can. And I think they're coming. Mason Wynn, Victor Scott, those are two names that fans will be excited about in the future. But the more of those guys you have, the more they have coming through the system, the sooner you can turn this around.
So we've been talking a lot about pitching, and you mentioned Mason Wynn and the potential of him coming up and Victor Scott. Are you saying that you also believe that maybe there's some other players that are figuring out a way to get more of that athleticism from the current roster that the Cardinals have?
I think what you see is what you are. I think, in fairness to the Cardinals, some of that athleticism has been hampered by injury. Tyler O'Neill's missed 69, 70 games. I mean, he's a 30 home run Gold Glove guy. He hasn't played. He's hurt. Hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. He's a terrific player when he's on the field. That's a problem. Getting Tommy Edman healthy. He was hurt with the wrist problem the final week before the All-Star break. That's a problem. Donovan couldn't throw. He's an athlete, but he can hit. So getting all those pieces together for extended stretches of time, I mean, in fairness, as I said, when Tyler O'Neill has missed 80% of your season, and he was counted on as being one of your starting outfielders, or not your center fielder, and hitting 30 home runs this year, that's a big blow for any club to have to overcome. And I think that was one of the reasons the Cardinals have floundered. Not the only one, but one of them. But getting more of those guys healthy and on the field and showing their dynamism, I think, is something we're all looking forward to.
Chip, you talked about pitching, and two of the pitchers that have been talked about possibly being traded because of their contracts is Jordan Montgomery and Jack Flaherty. If you do trade those guys, do you believe that you're going to get major league ready pitching in return, or are you looking at more like prospects for those guys, which put you in a bigger hole in the pitching that you already need?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Again, I'm not privy to those conversations. I don't know if those names are even being bandied about. I know they've been talked about in the media. But look, there's a dearth of starting pitching. There's a dearth of relief pitching all around Major League Baseball right now. And with so many teams that are in contention for postseason play, players that are not under contract for next year are going to have an awful lot of value. Who those are and where they will go and what they're going to pay and what you're going to get and how soon those players you receive will get to the show, I have no idea. I don't know how that works. But, there's nothing wrong with acquiring prospects now, because those are trade chips you can use in the offseason when everybody's had the dust settle. You figured out who the champion is, and you figure out who's available and who's not. So I know that Mo and his staff are working tirelessly to do that. I know they're disappointed that some of the bets that they made haven't worked out. Some have, but not all of them. And, I thought it was stark and eye-opening that he admitted, we're going to trade people, that this mix isn't working right now for the Cardinals. And that's unfortunate, I know, for all of us who expected so much more from this team in the first half. There's a chance still. They're still alive. They're still mathematically alive. And I think people believe that there is a parallel path that could be done here. Move guys, bring new guys in, and go on a run. But obviously the calendar is not our friend right now, either for the trade deadline or the championship season. So I know it's going to be a very, very busy couple of weeks at One Cardinal Way.
Who is your prediction of a player who is going to really explode or have a big second half?
Well, that's a good question. I think they are what they are. It's not like guys have had terrible halves. It's just that nobody's had a breakout first half like we thought they would. Like I said, Tommy Edman has moved around and played center field. He's been the best center fielder on this team. Jordan Walker came back and had a great run for the Cardinals after coming back from Memphis. Donovan at times has been awesome. Goldschmidt and Arenado have been very consistent. I think we're all looking for more from Wilson Contreras, more consistency defensively, especially for him. He's made improvements, but needs to be better back behind the plate. The bullpen up and down. I mean, Hicks and Helsley and Gallegos, those guys have been up and down. I mean, the Cardinals, answering this question is like trying to figure out which child you like the best. There's not been one real cornerstone, bedrock, foundational piece of this team other than Goldschmidt and Arenado. In Nolan's case, he said he started slowly and did. That you can say, okay, we've got this fixed. And then when you go to fix something else, well, it creates another problem somewhere else. And I think that's the most frustrating part of it foundationally from my 10,000-foot view of it, is there really hasn't been anything the Cardinals can hang their hat on and say, if we do this consistently, we can win games this way and fix the other problems on the fly. There's just been too many problems that have had to be fixed, in my opinion.
You talked about Mozeliak saying you were intrigued by him saying that it wasn't working and there would be trade partners or trade pieces leaving. Was there anything else intriguing that you heard from that interview that kind of piqued your ears up a little bit?
No, I found it very refreshing, the unbridled honesty with which he spoke. Look, everybody's disappointed. I came from Atlanta, and I was very clear in feeling that this was a team that was going to win the division and win 95 games. I think on paper, that's what everybody thought was going to happen. It just didn't work. And there's no point in saying that there's anyone or anything to blame. It just didn't work. And I think that the biggest key for anybody is to recognize what isn't working and go about trying to fix it. This isn't about blame. There's nobody to blame here. The Cardinals went about their business very rationally with really good players who just collectively haven't had a good year together. Now it's how do you fix it? How do you build forward so you don't have to go through this again? And I will remind fans that the Cardinals haven't had a losing season in 15 years. There are whole generations of kids in this town that have never seen a team finish below 500. In this era of pro sports, that's really a remarkable run, and there's still a chance to keep that alive. But obviously everybody's disappointed with what happened in the first 90 games. So now let's go about and make it better so we have a fun second half and build toward an anticipatory 2024 season.
Do you think that this will be a season in which there won't be a single Cardinal that wins a Gold Glove, especially with what we've seen the first half? It's been such a drop-off defensively, but you've had players playing in different positions, so it wouldn't be that surprising. But do you think that we'll go the season without a Cardinal winning a Gold Glove at all?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Look, and Nolan Arenado has such an incredibly high standard that when you see his defensive metrics and his numbers, you go, wow, something's off. And it was. That's hard to believe, and that's kind of the way the Cardinals, as you all know far better than I, have been built. You pitch to contact, you get the ball on the ground, and you get outs. Well, the shift changed that. It made it much more difficult for those ground balls to be outs because they're going through holes in the infield that a couple of years ago didn't exist. So I think that's something that the Cardinals are going to have to change on the fly. Swinging this stuff plays in this game, and it really, really plays in this era of super high-charged athletes roaming around the field at all positions. So to answer your question, Brooke, yeah, it's possible. Hopefully that won't be the case, but yeah, I think it's possible for sure.
So, Chip, our question of the day was, do you feel like the Cardinals can get better in free agency or at the trade deadline? Which will have more of an impact on this team this year or for the 2024 season? When you're looking at this roster, what's available at the trade deadline, what's available next season in free agency, which one do you think will be more impactful for this Cardinals team for the future?
Well, I guess it depends on which way your organization looks at players and as commodities. Is money an issue, or is having more players what you want, right? Because young, controllable talent is much more valuable than money in our game because of the controllable costs that are involved in it, at least in my opinion. So I think the Cardinals have a unique opportunity to do both, quite honestly. I think they have some pieces that are going to draw a lot of interest. And with so few quality pitchers available either in the bullpen or in starting rotations, the Cardinals have a unique opportunity to capitalize on that. And with the money that's coming off the books next year, they can go out and play in the free agent waters if they want to. Now, whether they will or not, it depends on who's available and what the price range and comfort level is. But I think the Cardinals are uniquely positioned to take a step back, see where we are after this year, and really go for it and take command of the Central Division next year.
Chip, last question. Do you all take your hot girl walks for home games?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do. In fact, I'm having my coffee right now to get energized for it, and I'm going to go out on a hot girl walk here in a little bit, but I'll be by myself.
Okay.
So it won't be a hot girl. It'll just be fat old me. But, it's part of the fun. Get out here and enjoy downtown and see the city people getting fired up for the games and the weekend with the Nationals in town. And we do have hot weather, so it's going to be perfect to get a sweat on.
Indeed. Thanks, Chip, for joining us. We'll talk to you next week. We'll be watching the Cardinals tonight, and good luck.
We'll see you this weekend. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye. That was Cardinals broadcaster Chip Caray joining us, talking a little Cardinals baseball second half, and we'll see
hot
what
girl walk.
Hot girl
maybe
walks.
Maybe that's what the Cardinals need to do. Just go
As a
some
team.
hot girl walks together for team bonding.
Just
Why
go.
not?
Do it. Why not?
Yeah.
Be good fun. That's Brooke. I'm Caray. Coming up next, we have the Cardinals have their non-core roster. What? Who the Cardinals? Oh. Who is your Cardinal that you picked to have a big second half for this Cardinals team? We'll discuss it when we return on the opening drive.
It's hard.
That's next on the opening drive.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals back in action for the second half of the season. They start 7:15 tonight with a 3-game series hosting the Washington Nationals. It'll be Miles Michaelis for the Cardinals starting today. Michaelis on the season, 5-5 with a 4.23 ERA. And if you want to catch up on the show today, Caray and Brooke joined by Blaine Bishop earlier today. Also, former MLB catcher and co-host of Foul Territory, Erik Kratz, talking about his new book. And also Cardinals broadcaster Chip Caray just joined the show. You can catch all those interviews later on today on the Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast on 101 ESPN and 101ESPN.com. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
I would like to see Lars Nootbaar actually play the way everyone was hoping he would play before the season started, and really solidify himself as part of the core. Because as of right now, he's played well, but he's one, Burleson hot streak away from not playing that much anymore. Because like I said last time I was on your show, this is going to be an AAU high school basketball tryout all the way to the end of the year. Who's part of the core? Who we hold on to? Who's going to go into spring training 2024 with a solidified job? And I hope Lars Nootbaar kind of solidifies himself in the second half.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Happy Friday, everyone. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Super Bowl champ Caray Davis and Matthew Rocchio. Randy with the day off. He has a doctor's appointment, so it's not a fun day off, but still.
He's probably playing golf by now.
By now, he's golfing. I would put money on that. I'm sure he'll text in and say that he is golfing.
He'll probably show us a picture with a smile on his face.
Yes, I can see that. I can see that. That was Greg Amsinger talking about Lars Nootbaar, his prediction for the Cardinal player who's going to have a breakout second half of the season. And that's gotten some people fired up because we've been talking about that today. Derek Gould of the Post-Dispatch also saying that he believes that Lars Nootbaar and Jordan Walker are two players who are not going to be on the move. And I think that you hear Jordan Walker and I say, of course not. And I've seen speculation of other people saying on social media, like, okay, well, what could we get in return of Jordan Walker? They're not moving Jordan Walker. That would be a giant mistake by the Cardinals if they move Jordan Walker. I will say, even though I am the president, CEO, treasurer, all that of the nutty neuters of Newt Nation, the Lars Nootbaar fan club, which Greg joined on our show the other day. He did. I was a little surprised that they brought up Lars Nootbaar. I personally, of course, think that he's a great player, energy guy. You can also talk about his strikeout rate and also his walk rate and how that is. But at the same time, if we're talking about making this team better for 2024, I can't say that Lars Nootbaar was a part of that list of a core group of players, and maybe he is. Maybe if other teams want him, there's a reason why the other teams want him. And I think that Cardinals fans would really hate to see him go elsewhere. And he's another name that we add to all the outfielders that we're seeing being so successful for other organizations.
Yeah, I like Newt. I think I'm still waiting on that breakout type of performance, night after night. I think he has it in him. He's shown some ability. His numbers are really good. And him being part of that core group of people that will not be traded or untradeable. You got, in my opinion, you got Jordan Walker, who we talked about, Newt, Goldie, Arenado. I think, Contreras is obviously on that list as well. What about Tommy Edman and Mason Wynn? Are those two also on your list of untradeable pieces for this team going forward? Well,
personally, I think that they're pretty high on Tommy Edman. He has 2 years, right, Rocchio, of control left, I believe. 2 years of control left. I would say that the Cardinals are really high on him for a lot of reasons. One, they felt comfortable enough for him, even when you had Dylan Carlson. Remember, even when Dylan Carlson and Lars Nootbaar returned from cold, dead hands, even when they returned from injury, who was still their center fielder that they were putting out there?
Yeah.
Tommy Edman. Yep. So they are pretty high on him and his abilities. But if you're talking about moving guys, I think between those two that you listed, Mason Wynn and Tommy Edman, you have to keep Mason Wynn around. Unless it was absolutely something crazy that you're getting something huge in return. I don't think you can part with Mason Wynn because you're also parting with Paul DeJong. I think we know that that's going to happen. Paul DeJong is gone. Mason Wynn, if you also lose him, I know that you might still have Edman there, Donovan, but I think Mason Wynn has too much of an upside. And remember what Chip said in the last segment. He wants the speed, the energy, the athleticism. Who has that?
Mason Wynn.
Mason Wynn fits all those categories. And if that's the trend in which the league is going, you can't afford to lose a player like that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And we were talking about who you think would have the breakout for the second half of the season. I'm going to go with a name that, I think it's pretty easy to pick this person, but I'm going to go with Jordan Walker. I think he has shown first half he got sitting down and there were some things they wanted him to correct. Whether or not he corrected them, I don't know. He came up and still looked pretty much like the same player he was before he left.
But what did he say again about the changes?
Yeah,
there was
just
some.
Do what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to do what got me here. He basically said, "What's the point of having launch angle if I'm not hitting the ball at all?"
I think that's a pretty good takeaway.
I think that matters. That's a young man who has a high intellect, a high baseball intellect, and understands that hitting the ball is all that matters when you're batting. So if you're not hitting it, it doesn't matter if you hit it high, if you're not getting hits. So he is my pick for the second half to have a breakout season. Breakout second half.
Yes, breakout second half. Do you think that sometimes maybe that's the issue with Nolan Gorman, is that focus or the philosophy? Because remember what Nolan Arenado said during the All-Star break. That was great audio that he had with Derek Gould of the Post-Dispatch. If you go there, you can see it, where Arenado talked about the pressures that he feels bad for some of the young players. And I know some people say that, well, I'm not going to feel bad for them. They're making a lot of money, and you get to play at the biggest level in pro sports. But at the same time, I do agree with Nolan Arenado in some ways. There's more pressure here for those young players to perform than what he dealt with at the Rockies when he was up and coming, where he could just be himself. Yeah. And maybe that's what helped him develop into the Nolan Arenado that we know today. Obviously, it worked out. Yep. But I wonder if some of those pressures that he's talking about, he's almost thinking about Nolan Gorman and some of the pressures he's facing. He's 23, 24 years old. Do you think that he puts pressure on himself to focus on just home runs, the reliance on the home run?
The pressure you'll face in cities where winning is not expected is not nearly as high as it is when winning is expected. The Cardinals organization, you're a young player, you're expected to be winners, be champions. That comes with the territory. I'm sure Nolan Arenado didn't have that much pressure on him because that's not an organization that you expect to win championships year after year after year. The important part of being a young player and having that type of pressure is the older players helping alleviate some of that pressure. Being the guys that you can come to, that you can talk to, not being, and I don't know if any of these guys are this way or are self-absorbed or only worried about their numbers, but being a good teammate. We saw a lot of it last season with Albert Pujols in his final year.
Young players, veterans.
Would he have done that in the heyday of Albert Pujols? Probably not, maybe not. But what you saw from him last year is vital for a baseball team, for any ball club, when you have young players, to have that star veteran, whether he's an older veteran, whether he's an older player, but he's been a star in this league. He's had great success in this league. He can tell you and explain to you and show you the right way to go about things. And I think for those young players on this roster, it is vital. It is crucial for Nolan Arenado, for Paul Goldschmidt, for Wilson Contreras, who is a veteran, for those guys to take some of those guys, those younger guys, under their wing and show them how to be great baseball players for their careers.
You know what's a giant anomaly right now in Major League Baseball, and especially in this division, is the Reds' success. We've talked about that. Their starting pitching is absolutely terrible, and we're talking about it being an issue for the Cardinals. They're actually worse than the Cardinals in a lot of categories when it comes to their starting pitching and their pitching issues that they're facing. And then you also look at their young players that they have. Elly De La Cruz, the energy, the athleticism, the speed, the energy that he just brings to that team and how things have panned out. That's why it's even even more frustrating for the Cardinals because you know how Mozeliak said that we kept trying to push the right buttons and they weren't working. Yeah. Do you kind of think that they were hoping that they would be able to be in a position that the Reds are in, where you had like your young stars and your veterans meshing a lot better than what we're seeing with the Cardinals? Because I'm sure they all get along great, but it's not translating out to the field. And how many times have we heard Nolan Arenado say this is a young team? Yeah,
it's important. I mean, any good team that I've been on, there aren't any cliques. There aren't fractions on the team where, this guy, I've played on some bad teams where there were, guys making $15, $20 million a year. They hang out in this corner. Guys that are free agent, rookie, unsigned guys that are on their rookie deal, they hang out in this corner. Then you got, your section of guys that are somewhere in the middle. They hang together. When you have cliques like that, and it just is not a complete team. But when you have the lowest man, the 53rd man in our case, on the roster, hanging out with the starting quarterback, now you have a team that really gels well, and everyone has the same goal in mind. Everyone is solely focused on the same task, and that is what helps win games.
Peyton, Marvin, and Reggie were just like the mean girls, weren't they? Just completely just clicked out.
The mean girls.
Not at all. Edge was one of the. I'm trying to figure out one of the coolest.
I'm trying to figure out who Carey's talking about.
No, you're gonna have to do some digging there, brother.
Oh, I would love that. I would love to know that.
I can see it. Reggie, Marvin, Peyton. Edge tries to sit down. Edge, we wear pink on Wednesdays.
No, Edge was the guy that would bring everybody. Hey, we going here. We're gonna hang out. Let's go do this. He was. And he's a Hall of Famer. So when you have guys that, and again, when you are all hanging out, not just, I'm not saying hanging out, going out to bars.
And I've been in that clubhouse. They get along fine. And they've said that. They do get along. It's not like these guys hate each other from what we can see publicly.
Yeah, but
it's just not translating.
It's important that younger players are able to attach to older players that are veterans, that have done it, that are superstars, and they can watch, not just watching and learning, but learning because they're talking and really taking their time. The older players are taking their time to show the younger players how to do this.
Or even just having a Chris Carpenter. And even you could say that Yadier Molina was like that in a lot of the ways, where somebody in that room that you knew was always watching and kind of judging you. And I'm saying in a negative way, but where you always had to be on your P's and Q's and making sure that you're trying to impress them. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. Players like that, where they have that energy, they have that command in the room where it's like, oh, okay, well, I need to make sure I'm doing the best I can to help him out and also the team out.
Yeah, you don't want to let your peers down. You don't want to let your teammates down. And when teams are working well together, they generally are all on the same page.
Do you want me to read this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that why you gave? I don't know. This is. I'm trying my best to be a co-host today, and taking Randy's spot. I'm trying my best. Okay, we have Cardinals. We have Cardinals Bud Bash ticket giveaway. 101 ESPN has your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to next Tuesday night's Budweiser Bash for Cardinals versus the Marlins. Next week's Bud Bash game features a limited edition Brad Thompson bobblehead. Text in now at 314-399-9646. That is 314-399-YO-HO. And we have a BT question, right?
I'm actually going to change this up a little bit. We've gone with the BT questions the last few days. I'm going to change this one up again. We're going to do a little show participation thing because Carey earlier, if you guys were listening to the fight, you heard that I inadvertently handed Carey Davis a particular question right there in the palm of his hands. He's got it right there. So he mentioned 2 Pittsburgh Panthers who used to come out to the Steelers field to practice after they did because, well, the Panthers used that. 2 eventual NFLers. Darrelle Revis was one of them. Who was the other future NFLer that Carey Davis mentioned used to come out to the Pittsburgh Steelers training field after they practiced? So earlier back in the fight, you can go back to listen to it even if you want, Carey Davis said it. 2 Pittsburgh Panthers used to come out on the training field. Darrelle Revis was one of them. Who was the other one? And you're very welcome for giving you that answer, Carey.
Yeah, all right. Make sure to text in. Coming up next, we have Rocc and Roll on the opening drive.
Breaking news, a heat wave is now in effect for Bridgeton.
Hello, Jim. It's a heat wave at Frank Lita Mitsubishi in the automotive outlet in Bridgeton.
The hottest vehicles, the hottest prices.
And the hottest interest rates.
Hottest rates?
Yes, 2.9% financing for 60 months.
I see. Well, in other...
More breaking news. Every vehicle, 0 down.
At Frank Lita Automotive Outlet.
Ma'am, you look happy.
I am. I just got a lifetime warranty.
Lifetime?
Yes, lifetime warranty. No charge. At Frank Lita in Bridgeton.
And they just had a price drop. Acres of pre-owned and new Outlanders with 0 down and 2.9% financing.
Things are heating up.
At Frank Lita Mitsubishi.
In the automotive outlet in Bridgeton.
YesLita.com.
YesLita.com.
23 Outlander Sport, 28.7, 0 down, $515 a month for 60 months at 2.9% APR, plus tax, tag title to qualified buyers.
BT with Rob from Max downtown Alton. And Rob, I've been looking for a place for the Thompson family to go in the morning, maybe a little bit of brunch. You got any ideas for me?
Well, Brad, actually I do. I think you're going to be surprised at this answer, but Max actually does Friday and Saturday breakfast and does a fabulous job on brunch on Sundays.
I'm not surprised about anything with Max because you do it all, whether it's the cold beer, the beer garden, hanging out with the family, the friends, the party buses. Max in downtown Alton, they've got it all.
Sign up to play fantasy football with Adam Wainwright, Tommy Edman, Lars Nootbaar, and others during Big League Impact's 2023 fantasy football season. Help support some fantastic charitable causes and show off your fantasy skills with a chance to win prizes all season long. Space is limited. You can find all the details on how to sign up for Big League Impact's 2023 fantasy football season now at 101ESPN.com. Brought to you by Sumner One.
I want to rock. And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Kerry Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley, and it's time for a little rock and roll. What you got, Rock?
Well, we're getting all our textures in for the winner of the Bud Bash tickets, and of course, you get a Brad Thompson bobblehead. I mean, how are you going to want to miss that one? A couple more minutes, we're going to get people to answer our trivia question. And it's pretty simple. Earlier on in the fight, Kerry mentioned two Pittsburgh Panthers who used to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers training facility because, well, they share the same facility all the time. Darrelle Revis was one of them. Who was the other Pittsburgh Panther who eventually became a pretty solid star in the NFL? You can text right in at 314-
399.
Okay.
399.
I thought you were choking on something. I was like, I don't know the Heimlich maneuver.
399.
So this isn't good.
Oh my!
Sorry.
Oh no!
Oh no!
We almost
you
lost
can
one
go
over here.
watch that on YouTube, and I had the look of fear because that's like the worst case scenario where I've always wondered what to do. I took a CPR class in college online, and I'm like, what is going to happen if I actually have to do something in person?
Well, it's one of those things
you
where
gotta
like
just jump in.
I felt the cough coming, and I was trying to talk, so I'm trying to like stifle it at the same time. This happened the other
Just let it
day
out.
because of the cameras. Like Jamie got shocked by the microphone, and so these are the things that you now get to see on the camera because I probably could have played that off a little bit better had we not been on the camera that I was about to start choking. But unfortunately,
No, I want people to go back and
everyone
watch.
gets to see it just right on Front Street. So thanks for that, everybody.
There you go.
Love having these cameras. They're the best. We were talking earlier about Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, we'd love to see the Cardinals get him. Obviously, having Lars Nootbaar certainly helps. Buster Olney broke down yesterday about the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes maybe starting a few months earlier than people expected.
In talking with sources yesterday around baseball, as of this moment, he's not available. But that could be tested in the next 2 weeks because when you look at the Angels' schedule coming out of the gate, they're going to be facing a bunch of teams that they're actually chasing in the standings. Now, as of this morning, they're 5 games behind in the wild card race. According to Fangraphs, 11% chance of making the playoffs. But right out of the gate, they face the Astros this weekend. We have them on Sunday Night Baseball. Then they face the Yankees. Then a couple series later, they're going to be facing the Toronto Blue Jays. These are all teams that they're chasing. That will give clarity to owner Artie Moreno as to whether or not he's going to potentially trade Ohtani. And look, the right baseball decision might be to flip Ohtani for 3 prospects who can help you going forward.
I mean, I say right now, Cardinals getting the sweepstakes. Best
3
way to build for
prospects?
2024. Getting Shohei Ohtani in the building
Who you giving
now.
up?
Everything
Everyone.
for Shohei.
Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman.
Didn't you hear about the revenue that he brings in?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm with you.
Everything.
Everything?
Sell the farm.
Everything.
Full Herschel Walker.
No, that didn't work out.
Full Herschel Walker.
That didn't work out well.
No, Shohei Ohtani's not like 32.
Vikings.
Shohei Ohtani isn't 32 yet. I'm just
How old
saying.
is he? He's 29.
He's not a running back either.
He's not.
He is both a pitcher and a hitter, and that could be a little volatile. That could never bite you, right? What's wrong with giving $60 million to one guy? How could that ever work out poorly for a franchise?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
If I didn't like the prediction that Erik had of the Cubs. I didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't like it when I read, 10, was it, I guess it would have been 2012 years ago that the Angels and the Cubs were the most likely team to sign Albert Pujols when the Cardinals let him walk, but yet we saw what happened there anyway. That's the fact of the matter is one of your biggest rivals is in the second biggest market in the country, so them's the breaks.
It's potential. It's part of it. Do you have a winner for the Bud Bash tickets?
We do have a winner for the Bud Bash tickets. The answer to that question, Carrie Davis, because the first answer to the question was the easiest fight answer ever, and I want to apologize to Eric, who did a great job and tied.
What the hell you apologize
Carrie
to
Davis.
me?
I want to apologize to Eric.
What the hell are you apologizing to him for? He will be on the fight on Monday with Randy. He won.
You think that's going to go well for you?
I mean, I fought tooth and nail there. I didn't give up. Just had a tough.
So the first answer,
question.
very easy, was Darrelle Revis. The second
Yes.
answer, who was the other Pittsburgh Panther who used to always come out there?
LaShawn McCoy.
LaShawn Shady McCoy.
Yeah, they practice our facility. We share a facility with the Pittsburgh Panthers. And so when we get done with practice, they are generally going out to practice. Sometimes we would cross paths in the lunchroom.
I feel good. We all learned something together collectively on the show today that the Pittsburgh Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers share the same practice field.
Yes. Well, their field is a little bit further. It's like 5 fields out there.
That's something
we have the first 3, and they have like the last 2.
That's something I didn't know.
Yep. Learn something new every day, Rob. We share the same indoor facility. Yep.
No more Pittsburgh NFL or college football questions for Carrie Davis.
Learn something new every day.
And even when I give him one, he still loses.
Ow! Oh, that's why I stir the pot. When people ask why, this is why. Rocc is not innocent as he likes to portray. He likes to portray this innocent, oh, woe is me, why are you? No, hell no. He is the one that's
Oh, well, just another day.
There you go, Eeyore. Thank you, Brooke. Today was awesome. Randy will be back on Monday, and we'll have the adult back in the room, and we won't. Hey,
the adult.
Thank you, Carrie.
Hey. Thank you, Rocc. Coming up next, we have a balloon party with who's in?
Chris Kerber.
Chris Kerber in a balloon party. We'll see you all on Monday. Until then, have a great day, St. Louis.
That's right.